Good morning, good morning, good morning. It is currently 11:56 a.m. and today's date is the 9th of December 2024. How are we doing this morning? It's Monday morning, 3 minutes to noon. And let me know what you're doing today, okay? This is going to be a quick stream. We're going to talk about the updates for today. Well, yesterday and this morning. And we're going to move forward real fast. But with that being said, welcome back to the live stream. You know what time it is. It is your boy Genesis. Welcome, welcome, welcome. All right. So like you see up there, it says Russia says Assad has left Syria as rebels take control. All right. All right, we have pretty much like a couple of updates that we have to talk about this morning before I actually move forward with other news. All right, so shout out to Ellie. Ellie, I see you, buddy. Thank you for tuning in. How is your day going? How is your morning going? Are you at work? Are you getting ready to go to work? Are you getting ready to go to sleep because you worked all day, all night? Let me know. Let me know in the chat. Let me know in the chat, people. What else? Yes, Danielle Penny is free. Congratulations to Danielle Penny. I'm not gonna say anything about it because I didn't vote for him to be 100% free. I voted for him to pay a fine. So, yeah, because most people are saying he's a hero. I mean, okay, but if that's what people think is a hero, all right, great. But I didn't vote for him to be found not guilty. All right. I voted for him to be fined a steep amount because if you're trying to de-escalate a situation, that shouldn't warrant taking somebody else's life. You know what I mean? Even though the person you allegedly said the person threatened people, there was no video of him threatening people, but there was video of you putting him in a chokehold. And there were other guys restraining this guy. There were two guys restraining his arm. But according to the report from the people that actually, from the medical professionals that actually examined Jordan Neely, they said the chokehold wasn't the reason he passed away. So, all right, Danielle Penny, congratulations to you and your family. All right, let's go right straight here.
News that Donald Trump made this morning in an interview that just came out. He talked to Kristen Welker about the January 6th Select Committee. Of course, you served on the January 6th Select Committee, and he said that they should, quote, go to jail, referring to the members who served on that committee. What is your reaction, and are you worried that Donald Trump will try to put you in jail?
No, I have absolutely no worries about this. First off, the executive branch can't go after the legislative branch because we embarrassed him. That's not a sin. That's not against the law. Ultimately, when we talked about him throwing his ketchup and hamburger against the wall, there's nothing illegal about that. And most of the people that testified were actually his Republicans, fellow Republicans that went up and spoke in him. So look, he's all but hurt right now because he was embarrassed. He's not going to come after us, and I'm not worried about it at all. In the least.
In his first network TV interview since the election, President-elect Donald Trump says he would like to see many of the people who investigated him sent to jail, including members of the January 6th committee.
These people right here, they just know how to twist your words. We're going to play the full interview on right here, the one he did with NBC. We're going to dissect it right here. And then we're going to put to shame what these people are saying. He did say if you did something wrong, you deserve to go to jail. However, he said he's responsible for bringing back the economy, making sure everything is working as it should. Okay? Now, sending people to jail. As a matter of fact, there's way too much to do. Okay, there's way too much to do than to be worrying about people that came after you. This is just my opinion. If he does that, if he goes after people who went after him, he's just wasting his time, because the border is in chaos. The foreign policies are like wildly bad. The economy probably in shambles. So he has to do what he has to do instead of going after people that, try to convict him or whatever. He needs to focus on what he has to do.
And Cheney was behind it, and so was Benny Thompson and everybody on that committee. For what they did, honestly, they should go to jail.
Are you going to direct your FBI director and your attorney general to send them to jail?
No, not at all. I think that they'll have to look at that.
Here now to discuss, CNN political commentator, Democratic strategist Maria Cardona, and former spokesman for Republican Governor Doug Burgum's 2024 presidential campaign, Lance Trevor. Lance, let me start with you. Liz Cheney is responding to what Trump had to say. She says these comments are a continuation of Trump's assault on the rule of law. He's also talking about pardoning his supporters involved in the attack on the Capitol. But how should we view these comments from the president-elect? Because I mean, it's no small thing to have an incoming president say that members of Congress should go to jail. I mean, we were just talking about the fall of Assad. I mean, it sounds like something Bashar al-Assad would say, quite frankly.
Well, I think you take him at what he said. That
Oh, great. Now Trump is Assad. Yo, you can never make this BS up, people. Look at that. Look at the lady in the middle, grimy. Look at it. Look at the. Oh, Lord. Now he's Assad? How do these people live with themselves?
Because, I mean, it's no small thing to have an incoming president say that members of Congress should go to jail. I mean, we were just talking about the fall of Assad. I mean, it sounds like something Bashar al-Assad would say, quite frankly.
Well, I think you take him at what he said, that he's not going to direct his legal folks in the Justice Department to look into this. I think what you're seeing is somebody who is rightfully frustrated when he's reflecting over what happened over the course of the last 4 years in terms of this idea that our government has been weaponized, particularly against him, the idea that there may be a double standard in our justice system. And I think you see that frustration coming out in him. But I would also look to what he said is, look, will there be...
More than frustration. He's talking about people sending members of Congress to jail. I mean,
will there be questions? Will there be reviews? That happens with every incoming administration that looks back at what happened in the previous administration. And remember, there's only been one Justice Department that's gone after somebody, and it's this current one after him.
But he did try to overthrow an election. He did hide classified documents at Mar-a-Lago, wouldn't give them back.
Joe Biden had classified documents in his house.
But Lance, not to borrow a line from ESPN, but come on, man. I mean, look, seriously.
If you're experienced,
this is nuts. I mean, we should just say this is like, this is nuts.
He said it right there. Look, he said to Kristen, I'm not going to direct my people to go after this. But if there are questions that look back, if you're somebody whose home was raided by this current Justice Department, while the sitting president, whose Justice Department effected that raid, had documents in himself, you could understand. And I think you get outside of Washington, D.C., and you talk to voters, there is real concern about a double standard in our justice system.
Here's what there is concern about. There is concern about a president-elect of the United States actually obsessed with his enemies list, as opposed to a to-do list for the American people. And that's exactly
here
what
we go. To-do list by Kamala
interview.
Harris.
And look,
though that message did not win in the election, I will say.
I'm with you, but it was very close. We're still a very divided country.
Close?
And the president-elect saying this does not help that division. In fact, I think it makes it worse, because it makes it look like, oh, the Democrats were right. Look at what he is focused on. He's obsessed with this and not obsessed with helping the American people.
Shut up. Okay. Shush. Joe Biden's DOJ went after Donald Trump. They raided Mar-a-Lago, and guess what happened? He still stayed in the fight. He finally won the 47th presidential election. Now he is the 47th president-elect, and he's saying exactly what he thinks in his heart. If you did something wrong, I think you should go to jail. But now they're still using his words against him. This guy who is doing the interview, asking the questions, basically just said that is the same thing with Assad. So now Trump is not more Hitler. He's now Assad. These folks will never disappoint you, people. They never, ever disappoint. This is what I expect from CNN. I mean, what were you expecting from CNN, bro? That's why I said Trump should have never taken the NBC interview. But he did, because that's what he does. He opens the door for the enemies to come in, and then he annihilates them. However, it's like you have too much work to do in this next term. This is the last 4 years that you get as president. After these 4 years, the next time you're going to get somebody else. The person may get inspiration from what you've done, the groundwork that you've laid down, but you only get 4 years. So don't be wasting your 4 years or the time that you need to be working with fellow Republicans and other reasonable people. Don't be giving that time to NBC, okay? I don't think they deserve that time. But his name is Trump. He's one of the most influential, probably the most influential figure in the world as of this morning. However, it's like NBC, bro. Come on. You know these people are going to chop it up and dissect it. But here we go. Now, his name is not more Hitler. You remember when it was at Madison Square Garden, they said, it's the same thing with Nazi Hitler. Now they're saying he's Assad. All right, here we go.
I don't mean I interrupted Lance. I interrupted you. I'm sorry. It's a Monday.
You're being fair.
But do Democrats need to get out of the fetal position a little bit and take this incoming president on, even before he comes into office, and say, you're not putting lawmakers in jail?
Yes, and I think you will see a lot of Democrats doing that. And here's
Total
the point that I would
BS.
say to my friend Lance. He doesn't necessarily need to say that he is going to direct his people to do this.
Total BS.
Because if his people, like Kash Patel, become the FBI director,
which
he
will.
doesn't need to direct them. Kash Patel already knows what he wants him to do.
Exactly.
That's why he wants people, the loyalists, the people who will do everything he wants, as opposed to what is allowed under the rule of law. And that's why he's so comfortable saying, I don't need to direct my people, because his people already know that he wants these people in jail. And that's why those nominations are so dangerous.
All right, with us now is Congressman Jim Clyburn, a Democrat.
I mean, think about it. Somebody come after you. Somebody tries to smear your name. Somebody takes a lot of money from you because you're going through litigation, through the court processes, and you are still running a campaign. This guy has been going through litigations for what, 2-3 years, and still won the presidential election. So what do you expect? He's supposed to just sweep it under the rug. Like, these people are supposed to be saying, you know what? We messed up. We apologize, okay? We thought you did something wrong, really did something wrong, okay? And we apologize for it. Maybe we should pay a fine to you to sort of kind of like ease it up, okay? Not try to make it seem like he's the bad guy. You guys voted for the bad guy. This guy has been the bad guy. That's why we try to indict him. If he actually did something wrong, why hasn't he been convicted and actually sent to jail? And yet the American people still voted for him. So it's like, you want to be treated like a good person, humanely nice, but you want to treat somebody else bad, and this somebody else happens to be the president-elect, the 47th. I don't know what you were thinking in the first place. Look at him. He's looking sad right here.
From South Carolina. Congressman, thank you so much for being with us. This interview that Donald Trump, the president-elect, did, he talked about a number of things, but one of the things he discussed was pardoning January 6th rioters the first day he is in office. Listen to this.
But I'm going to be acting very quickly.
Within your first 100 days, first day?
First day.
First day.
Yeah, I'm looking first
Can
day.
issue these pardons.
These people have been there, how long is it, 3 or 4 years?
Okay.
You know, by the way, they've been in there for years, and they're in a filthy, disgusting place that shouldn't even be allowed to be open.
Congressman, how would you feel about then President Trump pardoning the January 6th riot?
First of all, congressman should have nothing to say. Okay, you should have nothing to say because Biden just pardoned his son. Full pardon. What do you have to say? Let's listen to what he has to say because, I mean, come on. Your leader, who is President Joe Biden, just pardoned his son. And everybody knew what his son did. And yet, he pardoned his son. So what? Trump isn't supposed to pardon the J6ers? I don't know why people have double standards of the law.
Rioters on day one.
Well, thank you very much for having
Here we
me.
go.
You know, this is not the first time he said that. Throughout the entire campaign, he campaigned on that, made it very clear that that was his intent, not respecting the fact that these people attempted an insurrection. Of course, he encouraged them to do so, and so maybe that's why he's taking that into account. But the fact of the matter is, they did so. Some people died. I was in that building that day. I know very well what took place. This was not any kind of walk in the park, no peaceful protest. This was an insurrection. It was violent, and it took lives. And so, for him to say this on yesterday simply reinforced what he's been saying throughout the campaign. Maya Angelou told us, if people show you who they are, believe them the first time. So I believed him before we ever got to yesterday.
But you think you're against it, to be fair, to be sure.
Well, you know, I think that it's the president's prerogative to pardon whomever he wishes to pardon. That's up to the president. I favor the pardon system. It ought to be used to rectify wrong. It ought to be used to forgive and to provide a second chance. So if you go a case by case basis, you look at all of those people, some people may have gotten caught up in the emotions, and maybe a pardon for them would be okay. But if you're using the American flag, plunging at the soldiers, law enforcement officer, you have injured a law enforcement officer, and you are spraying whatever the stuff was that were spraying on people, those people should not be pardoned. And so, yes, go case by case, and there may be some people who got caught up and give them a pardon. But a blanket pardon to everybody, irrespective, no, I do not agree with that.
All right, but a case by case, maybe. That is interesting. Shifting to the current president, President Biden, how would you feel about President Biden issuing what some people call preemptive pardons? We hear it's being considered or discussed, at least inside the White House, pardoning people, just some of the names that are thrown out there, you know, Anthony Fauci or others who might come under or be targeted by a Trump administration.
Well, I agree that that should happen. Once again, case by case. I wouldn't say to the president, just blanket everybody, pardon everybody in a blanket way. No, go case by case. And Fauci is an indication of someone that I think should be protected because he has been threatened by people who say that he ought to be in jail. For what? Benny Thompson's name was mentioned on yesterday. Liz Cheney. Now, I, for 2 or 3 weeks, have been saying the president should use his pardoning power to protect those people who are doing their jobs, and now have someone like Kash Patel saying he's going to go after them. Now, some people say you shouldn't do it. They don't want it done for them. Maybe they can afford the legal fees that go along with all of this.
But why are you so worried about the legal fees, though? You didn't worry about the legal fees for Donald Trump. You never worried about illegal fees, but now you're worried about illegal fees now? Why are people like this? Huh? Now you're worried about illegal fees for Liz Cheney, for Fauci and everybody. But you weren't worried about illegal fees for the OG. Huh? Because he's a billionaire, so you should take his money. You should waste his time and energy when you knew he was running to be the president of the United States and he would need every dime he could lay his hands on. These people are just on another level. Look at him.
You know, I know Benny Thompson. We came up the same way. He in Mississippi, I in South Carolina. We can't afford to be paying our children's future out to attorneys.
Okay, you can afford to pay your children's future out to attorneys, but Trump can. I see. You know him, he grew up in Mississippi and all that stuff. I mean, listen to this guy.
Now, I, for 2 or 3 weeks, have been saying the president should use his pardoning power to protect those people who are doing their jobs and now have someone like Kash Patel saying he's going to go after them. Now, some people say you shouldn't do it. They don't want it done for them. Maybe they can afford the legal fees that go along with all of that. You know, I know Benny Thompson. We came up the same way. He in Mississippi, I in South Carolina. We can't afford to be paying our children's future out to attorneys, protecting ourselves against stuff that just is not true. And so if you don't want the pardon, then don't take it. But for people who need to protect themselves, their children's future, I think the president should take that into account.
So you are guilty. That's what you're saying, huh? You're saying that these people are guilty. That's what he's essentially saying. He's saying, you know what? For the people who don't want the pardon, then don't give it to them. Don't accept it. But for the people who want it, you know, for the people who want it, yeah, you should give it to them. All right. Here goes Danielle Penny right here.
Breaking news. The jury has reached a unanimous verdict in the case of Daniel Penny. He's been found not guilty on the charge of criminally negligent homicide. Now, remember what was at stake here. The jury could not agree on manslaughter. They failed to agree twice. The judge gave them another bite at the apple on this lesser charge, negligent. They now say not guilty.
And here's another thing I was thinking about. Why didn't Trump pardon himself in 2019 or 2020? He could have just pardoned himself and said, you know what? I pardon myself. And all of those BS, all of those long story, all of those unnecessary spending of money, energy, and time could have been avoided, could have been prevented. But he never pardoned himself. He never pardoned his kids. He never pardoned anybody. He pardoned his daughter's husband's father, Kushner, but he didn't pardon himself. He didn't pardon his kids. He could have just done that. I wonder why he didn't do that. Why didn't you do that, Trump? You could have just pardoned yourself. Think about it. If he had pardoned himself, all of this time wasting, all that stuff could have been out the window.
What does this mean? Let's first go to reporter C.B. Cotton, who's outside the courthouse, to find out how this has played out. Now, I hear an immediate melee of protesters, C.B.
Hi, Harris. That's right. Protesters are pretty upset. There's a large crowd of them out here next to me. You can hear them rattling the police barricades, saying no justice, no peace. And what they're yelling now follows a series of threats that they hurled earlier as the defense walked in with their client, Daniel Penny, telling the defense team that Daniel Penny can have no peace here in New York if he's found not guilty on this lesser charge.
Then he should move out of New York, Daniel Penny. I mean, look, go somewhere you're accepted. If New Yorkers ain't going to accept that you did a service for them according to you, Daniel said He, was trying to help the people on the train. He felt threatened, and it felt like the person, Jordan Neely, was threatening people on the train, and he stepped in. However, I don't buy that. But if that's what he believes, then okay, great. Then go somewhere people, accept you. Because when I saw the picture and I saw the video and I saw there were two other people restraining Jordan Neely, as well as Daniel Penny, putting Jordan on a chokehold. Look, I could never say, yeah, let it slide. I can't. I'm sorry. I could never say let it slide for Daniel Penny. The best I could do for Daniel Penny, if I had any say so in this issue, would be you have to pay a fine, bro, because you're saying that you felt threatened, and then you try to help people on the train because this guy was threatening people on the train. But the pictures showed two other guys already restraining this bro too. So Jordan was restrained by two people. You could have just eased your way out of the chokehold and say, I'm going to leave you now, okay? Plus, this man is a homeless man. He's angry. He's hungry. He's probably on drugs. And according to the medical information that they got, they said it wasn't the chokehold that actually ended his life. It was some, I think, fentanyl or something. But the fact is, did that chokehold actually have an effect on whatever triggered his demise? Maybe. However, I think he should have been fined, at least pay a fine for putting another man in a chokehold without being touched. He wasn't touched. Jordan didn't touch him. Okay, Jordan Neely didn't touch him. There was no record that Jordan Neely actually touched Daniel Penny or anybody on the train. He was just verbally threatening people, which there's freedom of speech, right? So if you say there's freedom of speech on this side, but there's no freedom of speech on that side, that to me is like outrageous. But look, the government should have, set up a space where people that are homeless could go to, people that are trying to recover from, drugs can go to, especially in New York. If you've ever been on the subway in New York, people do all sort on the New York. People come in your face and dance in your face and say, what are you gonna do? What you gonna do, bro? In your face. And I'm just there looking like, it's the subway. It ain't your father's car. People could do whatever they want on the subway. But I'm not saying Jordan Neely threatening this person was a good idea, but put into account this guy was homeless, on drugs, hungry, definitely angry, but that doesn't mean he should threaten people. However, does that warrant him losing his life? No. And Jordan, Daniel Penny is a Marine veteran. I would still say there are ways for you to de-escalate a situation. There are ways for you to disarm an untrained homeless druggie on the subway than, sending him to heaven or taking his life.
Daniel Penny can have no peace here in New York if he's found not guilty on this lesser charge, criminally negligent homicide. And from what I can hear right now, they're repeating those threats. They are very angry. Harris, I also want to mention there were a couple people here this morning to support Daniel Penny, but the anti-Penny crowd far outweighs them, and they seem pretty upset. We're seeing police officers come out here in droves to try to keep the two groups separated for now. But I'm looking at our notes from the courtroom, and it seems like this is the first time we've seen some real emotion from Daniel Penny. His attorneys told me this morning that this trial has understandably taken a toll on him. He's been spending time with family and friends to try to stay calm. And our courtroom reporter telling me for the first time she sees him visibly smile, now hearing that jurors have decided he is not guilty of criminally negligent homicide. Harris, are you with me?
Yes, CB, thank you. Sorry about that. And we've lost our picture for a second there. Appreciate your reporting. We'll come back to you as the news warrants. That is huge, what CB Cotton was just reporting there. That emotion also that she talked about, color inside the courtroom, the first time perhaps that Daniel Penny has had any sort of noticeable reaction. And of course, when a jury finds you not guilty, that is very different than being divided and sending this case again potentially for a retrial. This is significant, not just for Daniel Penny, not just for subway riders who may have been on that jury who found a way through all of the legal wranglings, it would seem, by what we know is a soft on crime DA who does not hand out the adjudication evenly, we've seen from Alvin Bragg. So this is really important. I want to bring in now Jonathan Turley, Fox News contributor, constitutional law attorney, and George Washington University law professor. Jonathan, before we get into what comes next in all of this, just your initial reaction. This was fairly quick.
It was quick, and it was not entirely expected because this is not obviously how District Attorney Bragg had planned this. The way the case was going was along the sort of design that Bragg had to force a compromise verdict. When the jury deadlocked over the more serious crime, the judge went ahead and allowed them to consider this lesser offense. That is basically what Bragg had hoped, that if he could not get a conviction on the more serious crime, which was unlikely, that they would come back and compromise and convict him on the lesser offense, which, by the way, still came with a potential penalty of 4 years. So I think that the most surprised person in that room may be Alvin Bragg, because you have a jury that apparently couldn't agree on the more serious offense, but then they came back and they said, but we do agree that he's not guilty of the lesser offense. So it's not exactly how this was supposed to play out in his view. And you keep in mind that this is a jury that received an Allen charge. And so that's where the court says, go back and try again. It's a favorite charge of prosecutors because jurors often do then produce a compromise verdict, a conviction for the prosecutor.
Okay, so yeah, congratulations to Daniel Penny, and I'm sure his family's happy, and he's relieved. This is a great news for him. But somebody said they only saw one person restraining Jordan Neely, and I just saw a picture I wanted to share with you guys concerning this. I don't want to waste time on this because congratulations to the young man Daniel Penny, and a Marine veteran. Oh, no, this isn't it. This isn't it. Let me get you. This isn't it right here. Let me get you the right link. All right, I think I got the link right now. So this is from New York Post, okay? And all right, here we go. Here is it right here. So if you see this picture, look, that is, of course, the Marine veteran Daniel Penny. And that right there that you see on the floor being, I don't know what the hell my goddamn emotion, but okay. So that's Jordan Neely and that's Daniel Penny. And of course, that's two guys restraining Jordan Neely as well as Daniel Penny right there. Okay. So tell me, guys, this is like, we are adults having a conversation, okay? I'm not telling you, oh, he was so wrong, he shouldn't have done that. And I'm not saying what Jordan Neely did was nice too. You can't be threatening people on the subway. Come on, bro. But he paid for it with his life. But look at this picture. Y'all said Daniel Penny is a hero. He's a hero, people. That's what y'all are talking about? I cannot, in good conscience, say Daniel Penny is a hero. He may be a hero in the Marines. Absolutely. He's a veteran. Thank you for your service. However, in this case, he ain't no hero. No, bro. What is that? Yeah, you ain't no hero in this case, Danielle. But like I said, he's been acquitted and everything is free, is good to go. And his family, I'm sure his family's happy and they can have him back. However, Daniel Penny's, Jordan Neely's family, what are they going to do? Keep on living their lives without their son. But another thing I got to point out is, if this man was labeled as homeless and on drugs and don't have a place to stay, hungry, angry, whatever, where was his family? Okay, his father is out there complaining and saying he wants to sue Daniel Penny, but where were you, daddy? Where was his daddy when he needed his daddy? This is the thing, okay? Fathers abandon their kids. They neglect their kids and then want to come when something bad happens or something great happens. Now, something bad has happened to this young man. Now his father wants to come out and say, well, this is racial injustice. This ain't no racial situation. This is just common sense right here. Your son should have had a home to live in. I don't care how old he is. That's why when parents say they'll put their kids out, I don't understand why you want to put your kids out. I don't care how old you are, 30, 40. Man, you should have a roof over your head. Now, achieving your dreams, going after your passion, it's on you. Okay, I can support you. But saying I want to put you out because you're not acting right, it's my responsibility. I brought you here into this world. So maybe Jordan Neely wasn't acting right and his father said, you know what, I'm going to put you out. Or his family said, we're going to put you out. Now, putting him out, or I'm saying I don't know if it's true. However, the news on the street is this guy was homeless. Okay. This guy was homeless, according to the news. This guy was homeless on drugs on the subway. But his parents needs to take responsibility. His family has to take some responsibility for what happened to him. Father wasn't around. Now he wants to be around, saying he wants to sue Daniel Penny. You know what I mean? Like, you can't be suing Daniel Penny because you saw. I mean, what Daniel Penny did, I can never say he's a hero. I'm sorry, guys. People are saying he's a hero. Oh, ye hero. No, this ain't no hero. Hero is nobody was there to help, and I came to save the day. Look at this picture properly. Does he look like he's the only one saving the day? Can't you see two other guys trying to save the day too? But he was the only one with the knowledge to put another man in a chokehold because he's a veteran in the Marine. He's a veteran in the Marine, so he has a skill that the ordinary man would not have. He has the skill to put a man down really quick. He's a veteran. He knows what to do and what not to do. He knows how to end a man real fast because he's trained. He's a trained, seasoned Marine veteran. So, when you people say he's a hero, take a look at this picture. So that means if Daniel Penny is a hero, these other two guys, their name has to be in the news and they need to be called heroes too. Okay? They need to be called heroes too. Daniel Penny cannot be the only person y'all are saying is a hero, and these other two guys are here restraining Jordan Neely, and they get no credit. They get no credit. They get zero. In fact, nobody knows their names. Okay? Nobody knows their names. And y'all call Daniel Penny a hero. He ain't no goddamn hero. He he made a mistake, okay? He never wanted to end this guy's life. He never wanted to do what he actually did, which was putting this guy on a chokehold for way too long. He never wanted that. He never wanted that. Okay? He said it. He was scared. He said it. He felt threatened. And I guess adrenaline kicked in and he couldn't control the outcome. Okay? But this is why you have to learn to de-escalate with sense. Okay? De-escalate with sense. Disarm with some sense. Okay? Disarm with some sense. Look, he needs to be fined. Shout out to Ellie. He needs to be fined. Am I saying Danielle Penny should go to jail? Absolutely not. Because Jordan was threatening people on the train, bro. You can't be threatening people on the train. The same thing goes for Danielle Penny. You can't be putting someone on the chokehold on the train, bro. So you need to be fined. Heavy. Like, I mean, fined for real. Okay? But him going to jail, I don't think he should go to jail. But I do think he should be fined, though. Okay? I think he should be fined. And now, a little background about this guy, Jordan Neely. He was actually a dancer. Okay, for the people who don't know, this guy was actually a dancer. And let me see if I can get that for you. Copy link. Let me see if I could get that for you guys. This guy was actually a dancer. But before I take it out of this picture, you see there were 3 guys, right? So for people saying this guy's a hero, look at the picture properly before I take it off. 2 guys were restraining Jordan Neely. He was on the floor. Obviously can't do nothing. Then the Marine veteran, Danielle Penny, put him on the chokehold right there. He's been there down. And I mean, probably for too long. It could have just released his hands and say, you know what, I'm going to let you go now because 2 guys are restraining your arm, okay? I need you to act with some sense. 5, 4, 3. I'm letting you go, bro. 2, 1. Okay, that's it. I'm out. But no. He had to send him to Jesus. All right. Here we go. All right, so right here, this is Jordan Neely. So Jordan Neely was a dancer. As you see right here, this guy was a dancer. Michael Jackson type situation. See? He used to do Michael Jackson impersonation on the subway. I mean, take a look at this guy. I feel like his family let him down. First of all, I blame his family. I don't even blame Danielle Penny. Danielle Penny did the do, but I blame his family first. His father, to be precise. Okay. I blame his daddy. But look at this guy right here. Look at this guy right here. This is a young man who, just trying to make a living. Look at him on the subway right here. Look at him on the subway. This is a guy who dances on the subway. Probably got frustrated. Got on drugs because he wasn't getting the outcome he felt he would have gotten. You know what I mean? Like, he's a dancer. He dances on the subway. If you've ever been on the subway, you would know dancers are everywhere on the subway. This is what they do. This is a normal thing on the subway in New York. Okay? But this is what happens when, you don't get the love you deserve from your family. I blame his father. I blame his family for letting him go homeless, and ultimately meeting his end on the same subway where he used to make a living, dance, entertain people. So he was a Michael Jackson impersonator. Dressed like Michael Jackson, made everybody laugh, happy on the subway. He used to be fun on the subway. Look at life. This guy used to be fun on the subway. He used to be the entertainment on the subway. He used to be the ones to put a smile on people's faces on the subway. Okay? He used to be the one to make people feel like, oh, my day was going bad, but now I see this dancer, I feel better. My day is going better now. He used to be the one that brought relief to people on the subway. And his life ended on the subway. It's just sad, bro. It's just sad, bro. It's sad. Anyway, yeah, there goes the picture again. 1, 2 guys restraining Jordan Neely right there. Okay. I don't want to spend time on this because I already spoke about this multiple times, but it's life is what life is. Okay, life is life. Do I think Danielle Penny should go to jail for this? Nope. Because according to the word that people were saying on the subway, is like this guy was threatening people on the train. Okay. But you're going to have to pay a fine, though. Jordan shouldn't have been threatening people. Danielle shouldn't have been putting anybody in a chokehold. Okay? But that's life. That's life right there. Sad to see, but that's life. Anyway, time to move forward. It is what it is. It happened, and I guess he's going to have to focus on a better future for himself. And if New Yorkers are saying they're not going to accept him, like with the whole decision that the jury came up with, that he's not going to be able to live his life fully and with no peace in New York, then he should move somewhere else. I think Danielle Penny should move somewhere else, okay? Because he was tried and he was acquitted. So he should move somewhere else. He shouldn't, live his life because he shouldn't live his life based on the fear of someone may try to take him out in New York. You go somewhere else, bro. That's life. I mean, Jesus.
They ought to release the J6 hostages. They've suffered enough. They ought to release them. I call them hostages. Some people call them prisoners. I call them hostages.
A central promise on the campaign trail from President.
And this guy has been campaigning based on this. And people are surprised he's saying what he said he was going to do during the campaign trail. Why are people like this? I said I was going to do A, but you're telling me I'm being bad when I'm doing A. I've been saying I was going to do A in the first place. Okay. In the first place, I've been saying this is what I'm going to do. Now they're saying he is acting like Assad. He's not more Hitler. Now he's Assad. Great.
President-elect Donald Trump pardoning supporters convicted of January 6th related crimes. Now, with Trump headed for the Oval Office, that's closer to becoming reality. More than 1,000 people have been convicted or pled guilty to charges related to the attack on the Capitol in 2021, according to the Department of Justice. And in his first sit-down interview since his re-election, Trump suggested many of those convictions could be swept away.
But I'm going to be acting very quickly.
Within your first 100 days, first day?
First day.
First day.
Yeah, I'm looking
Can
first
issue
day.
these pardons.
These people have been there, how long is it, 3 or 4 years?
Okay.
You know, by the way, they've been in there for years, and they're in a filthy, disgusting place that shouldn't even be allowed to be open.
Trump went on to say that there should be people in jail for the January 6th investigation, certain members of Congress who led the investigation into him.
For what they did,
Yeah.
honestly, they should go to jail.
So you think Liz Cheney should go to jail?
Ellie, you're saying that activists are saying that we need vigilantes. Look, that I would not agree with. Definitely not. Average Joe says, Jake, being a weak coward, you wouldn't understand since you would just run away and let others be hurt. I mean, Average Joe is my guy, okay? Average Joe is my guy. But on this, we don't agree, okay? But do I think Daniel Penny should go to jail? No, he should pay a fine because there were 3 people right there with Jordan Neely, okay? So, yeah, Average Joe is my guy, but on this case, it's like, nah, bro. First of all, people saying this guy is a hero, that's total BS, okay? Straight up total BS. But what happened. Okay, what happened. This guy has lost his life. His family would have to deal with it because, first of all, they allowed their son, their child, to be homeless on the subway. Okay, and this guy was probably dancing to make a living on the subway. But it happened. I blame his family. I can never blame anybody else when it comes to this type of stuff. But somebody did do that, took him out of this world, which was Daniel Penny. But in the first place, he wouldn't have been homeless if his father, to be precise, because this is the deal. With me, I always try to blame the father because at the end of the day, you sort of kind of have the responsibility as a father, at least to your child, okay? To your child, you have the responsibility to take care of them as much as you can. Try your best and take care of your child, because once you don't do that, then anything that happens to your child, just drink some water and accept it. But now he wants to sue Daniel Penny when the word on the street is your son was homeless on the subway. How in the world was your son homeless on the subway and now you want to sue the person that took his life?
For what they did.
Everyone on the committee, you think
I think
should go to
everybody
jail.
anybody that voted in favor.
Are you going to direct your FBI director and your attorney general to send them to jail?
No, not at all. I think that they'll have to look at that.
And concerning this guy right here, like, look, now congressmen are saying we don't have the resources to be going through litigations and going through the courthouse. But you weren't thinking about litigations for the 47th when he was wasting his time, energy, resources, and still campaigning to be the next president. It was easy. Why? Because he's a billionaire. But you are talking about, I grew up in Mississippi. Oh, you didn't know you grew up in Mississippi before you try to get somebody to go down. So now you know he's the new president of the United States. And you may be facing some litigation for what you've done, but you don't want that. You're saying, look, some of us don't have the money to go through courthouses. Oh, I see.
But I'm going to focus on drill, baby, drill.
All right, joining us now to discuss, Kevin Fry, Washington correspondent for Spectrum News, New York 1. Kevin, good morning. Thank you for being here. So a remarkable statement there from Donald Trump led to a remarkable statement from Liz Cheney, who, of course, was in discussion there. It's a very lengthy statement. I'm going to read part of it. She says this, quote, was the worst breach of the Constitution, she's talking about January 6th, by any president in our nation's history. Donald Trump's suggestion that members of Congress who later investigated his illegal and unconstitutional actions should be jailed is a continuation of his assault on the rule of law and the foundations of our republic. There is no conceivably appropriate factual or constitutional basis.
Liz Cheney has nothing to say. Liz Cheney needs to just chill, drink some coffee, and get ready for what is coming, okay? Look, the fact that Liz Cheney was, or I don't know, is she still a Republican? I mean, who knows, bro? But you just need to sit down and wait for what's coming. If you've done nothing wrong, you should be chilling, okay? And I mean, she's part of the ruling class as far as I know. So she just needs to relax, stay strapped, and just relax. Okay? If it happens, it happens. If they come after you, they come after you. Drink some water, because you were one of the people that said they should go after the 45th. You said, we gonna figure out what he did. So now it's your turn. You do, like, if you can give, whatever you can dish out, you should be able to take. Okay? So you dished it out. Now it's coming back at you, but you want to run away. Well, I don't know how that works, though.
For what Donald Trump is suggesting, a Justice Department investigation of the work of a congressional committee.
And Joe is probably going to pardon Liz Cheney and a lot of them. Because if he doesn't, man, she's going to be spending a lot of money going through the courthouses.
And any lawyer who attempts to pursue that course would quickly find themselves engaged in sanctionable conduct. Basically, she's saying if you investigate a congressional committee, you are going against the rules that the bar sets for you. Yeah. What do you see here? And you could see the anger in President-elect Trump's face there around January 6th that perhaps suggests he is actually going to send his Justice Department to do this.
Right. I mean, one, we'll point out that this would not be the first time that, to build off of what Liz Cheney said, that a lawyer for Trump would do something that could be sanctionable and get them disbarred in a certain region. But on top of that, I mean, this is kind of like this weird dynamic. And
Karen,
Trump
good morning.
always has operated
Actually,
this
good
way,
afternoon.
where he can have a lot of softer tones in different parts of the interview, or try to distance himself with some wordplay about, well, that'll be up to them to look into whether or not they'll be doing it. They'll
Shout out to Bree. Bree says Joe thought he couldn't ruin his exit anymore with this move, but he's about to ruin everything for everyone else. Lol. Yeah, she's turned full-fledged Democrat. Yeah, she's probably a Democrat. I mean, there's absolutely nothing wrong in being a Democrat or a Republican, but this is my take, okay? Stay independent, okay? Look at both sides and decide. Okay? Stay independent, look at both sides and decide. However, there is no, in my opinion, everybody does something that you don't like. For example, Trump saying he wants to give immunity to law enforcement officers. I think that's total BS. Okay, that's total BS. However, his take on the economy, his take on the border, his take on foreign policies, I rock with that. But immunity for law enforcement officers, it's like, come on. Every adult has to take responsibility for what happens to them and what they do. So if a law enforcement officer makes a mistake, he's not even thinking it's a mistake anymore, because in his mind it's like, yo, I get immunity anyway. But now he's sort of kind of saying, maybe we're not gonna give full immunity. We're gonna check it out before we sort of give them immunity. I mean, it is what it is, but I don't agree with that, okay?
have to decide, I'm not going to be dictating it to them. But at the same time, this was the one mark where he was very explicit in basically saying they need to be in jail, whereas as opposed to kind of sidestepping some of the issue. Clearly, this is something that is frustrating to him. Clearly, he sees this.
Jake says you rock with tariffs. Can you explain why? Look, tariffs are a way to bargain. It's like a negotiations token. You have to be able to negotiate with foreign leaders. It's a way to negotiate. He's been saying he wants to tariff these people to oblivion, but it's not going to happen. You're just going to talk about tariffs. And now he's been talking about tariff. Guess what happened? Justin Trudeau of Canada went over to Mar-a-Lago. Why? Just off of talking about tariff. It's a negotiation token. That's all it is. You use tariffs to negotiate. Now it's talking to Mexico about the border. Guess what he's using to negotiate? Tariffs. Okay? Tariffs. That's what he's doing. You use tariffs to negotiate. You can use tariffs to stop wars. He's done it in 2016 to 2020. You can use tariffs to stop wars because everybody wants to do business with the United States. There is no country on earth that could go without doing business with the United States. It's just facts. Almost 80% of Mexico's export is to the United States. Now, think about the United States saying, you know what, Mexico, we don't want to do business with you for 6 months. You think Mexico is going to be able to survive that when 80% of their export is to the United States? So basically, no trade with the United States. Probably Mexico may go into a recession. Okay, so when someone comes along and say, I'm a tariff you guys, of course she wants to talk. I thought she was being the president of Mexico. The lady was like, yo, I'm not gonna look, we gotta secure the border, but you can't sort of kind of bully me to secure the border. But yes, actually I can, because you need us. That's what Trump is saying. Yo, we're gonna tariff you to oblivion if you don't do your part. You know what I mean? So it is what it is. I think tariffs are a negotiation token. And, you know, if you get someone who actually knows how to do it properly, they can get the best for the people here. It's just what it is.
As something that he feels vindicated in doing now that he's won re-election.
So, Kevin, obviously the question, too, that has been at hand, and there was discussion and reporting about it last week ahead of these Trump comments, was whether President Biden is or should issue preemptive blanket pardons to people like those on the January 6th committee. Congresswoman Debbie Dingell was on State of the Union with my colleague Jake Tapper yesterday, and they talked about whether this was a good idea. Let's watch that.
I obviously think that oversight and investigations is one of the most important functions of the United States Congress, a system of checks and balances, and would respectfully disagree with what President Trump has said, that they should go to jail. It'll be interesting to watch this play out. And I also will say, too, I know people are talking about, well, should Biden give them a blanket pardon? But a lot of people don't want that to happen.
Schiff doesn't want it to happen.
More than that, I've talked to many members of the committee because it implies that what they did was wrong and what they were doing was their job.
So this is the central question, because if you're accepting a pardon, you're in many ways acknowledging
guilt that doesn't necessarily exist, or arguably does not exist in this sort of scenario. And this is one of those things where Trump has this incredible ability to float an idea that he certainly has about pardoning himself preemptively or reactively during his own term when he was in power, and talking to his lawyers about it, as he kind of explained in this interview, and then forcing the Democrats, who claim to have the moral high ground in all of this, to then, in response to Trump making all of these threats, suddenly have to look into breaking precedent, forging new territory, and leaving everyone in an uncomfortable position, and then also providing Trump with the groundwork to go ahead and do it himself when he takes office again in a matter of weeks.
Really remarkable situation. Kevin Fry, thank you very much for being with us this morning. I appreciate it.
No problem.
All right, joining us now to discuss, Michael Warren, senior editor at The Dispatch, Lulu Garcia-Navarro, CNN contributor, journalist for The New York Times, Megan Hayes, former director of message planning at the Biden White House, and Matt Gorman, former advisor to Tim Scott's presidential campaign. Welcome to all of you. So you heard what Kinzinger had to say there. We also received a scathing statement from Liz Cheney, who, of course, really the lightning rod figure on the committee. And this is what she says, quote, "This was the worst breach," she's talking about January 6th, "of our Constitution by any president in our nation's history. Donald Trump's suggestion that members of Congress who later investigated his illegal and unconstitutional actions should be jailed is a continuation of his assault on the rule of law and the foundations of our republic. There is no conceivably appropriate factual or constitutional basis for what Donald Trump is suggesting. A Justice Department investigation of the work of a congressional committee And any lawyer who attempts to pursue that course would quickly find themselves engaged in sanctionable conduct. Michael Warren, Kinzinger says he's not afraid. Should they be?
I kind of think maybe they should be. I mean, I think if you look at, it's interesting. I watched that entire hour, 16-minute interview with Donald Trump, and there's a part where he says, you know, my retribution will be success. When the economy is great, when everything is going so much better, when I've set things, I don't care about the past. And then just a few minutes later, the clip that you just played, he's putting into place, or he hopes to put into place, people like Kash Patel, who, if you listen to what they've said on podcasts and interviews and these sorts of things, they certainly view retribution against specifically the January 6th committee, specifically against the FBI. They view that the FBI has overreached their bounds going after Donald Trump specifically. They're serious about it. Donald Trump may say, you know, they'll have to make those decisions. He's the one putting these people in potentially in positions of power. I think we should take it seriously because they certainly,
of course, take it seriously.
I'm talking about Kash Patel, but
take
others
it
in the Justice
seriously.
Department, in Trump's Justice Department, potentially, they are taking it seriously.
Megan Hayes, this obviously plays into the conversation we were having starting last week about possible preemptive pardons for some of these people.
And this is another thing, like, we can ask ourselves this question. Why didn't Trump pardon himself in 2016 to 2020? He could have just pardoned himself and all of this wouldn't exist anymore. He could have just pardoned himself. He could have pardoned himself, yo. But he didn't. They didn't even pardon his sons and say, in case anything happens in future, yeah, I'm going to pardon y'all. He never pardoned his sons. Himself, he did pardon his daughter's husband's father, Kushner. But he never pardoned himself. And to me, that's balls right there.
Adam Schiff has said he doesn't want one. There would, of course, be some sort of implication of guilt if you accept a pardon like this. How do you think Trump's comments are going to impact that debate inside the White House?
Look, I think this is why they're having that debate, right? I think that people should be fearful, to your point, of what's going to happen. It's not necessarily that they did anything wrong, but they can go after them. They can charge them with things. That's hundreds of thousands of dollars in legal fees. It's not just about what.
Why are you concerned about hundreds of thousands of dollars in legal fees? You weren't thinking about the hundreds of thousands of dollars in legal fees for the 45th, now the 47th president-elect. You never thought about the hundreds of thousands of dollars for legal fees then. Why are you concerned about hundreds of thousands of dollars on legal fees now? That's just not fair. That's like, you guys are like the bad guys, really. This just makes me realize that these people are actually the bad guys. You didn't care about a grandfather, because Trump is actually a grandfather. You didn't care about a grandfather, a father, a husband, a brother. You didn't care about his hundreds of thousands of dollars in legal fees because what? He's a billionaire. He has high rises around the United States. You didn't care about all of that. But you care about your own hundreds of thousands of dollars in legal fees. Man.
What's going to happen if they're convicted, because they didn't commit crime, so they're not going to be. But it's the whole process that's going to take years for this all to play out, and the money that they're going to have to spend.
Of course it's going to take years for this to play out. It took years. I mean, this guy was the 45th when this whole debacle started. Okay, this whole debacle started when this guy was the 45th. Now the 47th. So he's been going through this for like, what, 4 to 8 years? He's been going through this for 4 to 8 years. Oh, you don't think you have enough money to last you that long to go through legal charges and fees? Of course. But you think he does? Well, he does, because he survived. He survived this whole issue. And that's the thing. This is 2 double standards as far as I'm concerned. Y'all didn't care about this guy spending money. He didn't even spend hundreds of thousands in legal fees. He spent millions of dollars in legal fees. Of course. But now they're saying this may take years to play out. We don't have that much money to be spending on legal fees. But why weren't you thinking like this for the 45th?
I understand why the Biden White House is doing this. I understand why this is now a conversation, because the president-elect is making comments basically saying he's going to attack these people.
Lulu, do you think it'd be smart of them to do these preemptive pardons, or would it be wrong?
I'm not a believer in the preemptive pardons, because I think what ends up happening is Donald Trump distorts what we consider to be acceptable. And no one has ever done a preemptive pardon before. It would be really pushing the boundaries of what the norms are. He constantly does that. And just in a comment, already they're having this reaction. He hasn't done anything. Kash Patel hasn't been actually put into power yet. And so I do think that Democrats and Republicans who might be targeted probably need to calm down. I agree with Michael that I don't think that this is spurious. It may very well happen. But I think this idea of preemptive pardons and putting Biden in that position, I don't think it's wise.
It's definitely not wise for them to be pardoned before anything even happens. That's like admission of guilt, but of course, these people don't care. I think they caught the
I want to give an update now in the killing
CEO
of the United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson. A man who matches the description of the gunman has now been taken into custody in the state of Pennsylvania. Alexis McAdams has the update. Alexis.
Hey, Harris. Well, we never know exactly how quickly these things are going to move. All morning I've been in Central Park as these dive teams have been doing everything they can to find what I was told was the weapon, because they couldn't track it down. Now investigators and NYPD police sources, Harris, telling Fox News that they believe they found a man who matches that same description of the gunman who killed that CEO in Midtown Manhattan. They found him at a McDonald's in Altoona, Pennsylvania. Okay, that's like a 5-hour drive from where we are right now. We knew that the person of interest had possibly hopped on a bus and fled town. Now we're being told they believe they have that person of interest in Altoona, Pennsylvania. So we kind of talked about this earlier when I checked.
But where's the picture, though? Let's see the picture of the person they caught. We have to see who they caught. Is it the same person?
With you, person of interest, suspect. They're keeping it at person of interest right now, and they're just saying he matches the description. But not only does he match the description for people watching at home, he also, according to investigative sources who are telling Fox News, he had the weapon they believe was used in this murder in his pocket. So this is what happens, I'm told, from police, and it's still developing. But this person's at this McDonald's in Altoona. We've been putting these pictures out all across the country because it's been a nationwide manhunt. So they've been asking people, do you recognize this man in the photo? We want to talk to him. We think he was linked to this ongoing investigation. Well, somebody, Harris, said that McDonald's in Pennsylvania recognized him, called it into local police, and here we are right now. So if this ends up panning out and they are going to question this guy in Pennsylvania, we could have a huge break in this case. This comes as that CEO's having a private funeral right now in Minneapolis area where he was from. He was just in town for business where he was gunned down. Back out here live, the question is, what's the motive at this time? Could it be linked to his job? Yeah. What exactly
all right,
was
Alexis,
that all about?
I want to bring my team in who's with me now so we can kind of work through all of the great reporting that you've just done. A suspected assassin was located, seen, witnesses were able to make a match at a McDonald's in Pennsylvania. And so, Andrew, I come to you first because he'll be extradited back to New Jersey. I don't even know if you call it that, because we basically have like one state down shore, like Jersey Shore. Like as you go far south in Jersey, it is Pennsylvania. So talk to me about what happens next to him.
Well, he'll be undoubtedly extradited to New York. We have to make sure it's the right suspect, right? They have pieces right now that suggest that it's him. They're going to bring him back here, and then the prosecution begins, and that's a slow process. We can anticipate an indictment and other pieces along the way.
How impressed are you by the fact that we didn't hear much about the DNA on the bicycle, all the places that we know there would be DNA? Even if he had on gloves, he had to sit. Right. He was doing all sorts of things and leaving the backpack behind. No matter how careful you are, you're not perfect as a human being. How impressed are you that none of that really leaked into the public, none of what they were finding? And I know you don't want it to, but sometimes people find things out. Does that make this case against him stronger?
Well, I think there's going to be a lot more that we learn about what the police actually had access to that they didn't let us know about. I'm most interested to hear if there's accomplices or other people, either before the fact or after the fact, that are somehow involved. And that could be something that the FBI or the DOJ gets involved in. He may be looking at criminal prosecution both in New York as well as federally if he's committing crimes across state borders.
How does Minnesota come into play? That United Healthcare CEO, Brian Thompson, shot in the back, assassinated outside the Hilton Convention Hotel in the middle of Manhattan. And you heard our reporter there, Alexis McAdams, saying that funeral services are getting underway. How does that state play a role?
Well, not anything directly. I think that what we have to look at is how the killer was connected potentially to the company. Is this an insider? Is this somebody who had perhaps formerly worked there? Are they connected with people who was feeding him information?
Interesting.
So that's the larger scope of what will be looked at.
Man, my heart goes to the family of this guy right here, especially if he has kids, and I heard he has 2 kids. I mean, it's just sad to see that they've lost their father, and that's it. That's just it. A lot has happened in 2024. From the moment Cat Williams did the interview, everything has been going wild. Since the Cat Williams interview, everything has been going wild, guys. He said it. Everything is coming to the light this year, 2024. All lies will be exposed. Guess it's coming to an end, guys. This is just the wildest BS ever. I feel for his kids. Feel for his kids.
We start with breaking news in the case of the murdered health insurance CEO in New York City last week. Police are now questioning a man in Pennsylvania in connection with the killing of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson. CNN's Bryn Gingras and John Miller join me now from New York. Bryn, I'm going to start with you. What do we know?
So we know right now, Dana, that there is someone that is being questioned by investigators right now in Altoona, Pennsylvania. This person is 26 years old, according to sources telling John Miller. We've learned that they actually got a tip from someone at a nearby McDonald's in that area who said, hey, this guy looks like the person that's in all those photos that have been circulating. And that's how he was brought in for further questioning. And in doing so, according to sources telling John, that they found a lot of evidence that could point in the right investigation for authorities at this point. They found a gun that resembles the one that was used in the murder last Wednesday. They found a suppressor, which is basically another word for a silencer. It muffles the sound of a gunshot. We know that was also used in the killing on Wednesday. And they found a number of fake IDs with this person. One of those, according to sources, the NYPD does believe was used here in New York City. Now, also, if you remember, we reported that investigators believed their person who was responsible for this killing used a fake ID to check into a hostel in the Upper West Side of Manhattan. So it's possible that is one of those fake IDs. We've also learned from sources that there were some sort of documents that were with this person that is, again, brought in for questioning at this moment. And they're still going through all of those paperwork to figure out exactly what is said in those documents. But again, these are significant developments in this case, in this manhunt that has stretched far past New York City limits. And now we know that someone is in custody. Someone is being questioned with authorities right now in Altoona, Pennsylvania.
Okay, and John, let's go to you. You have so much of this excellent reporting. Add to the color and the context and the information that Bryn just started to give us.
So, Dana, this starts as a very routine day in a McDonald's in Altoona, Pennsylvania, which has like 3 McDonald's. But an employee there looks at this person and has been seeing on CNN and everywhere else these photos from the NYPD of this masked person with the hood where they're saying, look beyond New York, because we think the person has left the city. And she believes that this person resembles the photos that have been put out. She calls 911, gets the Altoona PD. They respond to the McDonald's. They engage this individual. And as they get him to identify himself and look through things, they find a gun, they find a silencer, they find multiple false IDs. And when they begin to compare those notes with the police in New York, they find out that one of those IDs matches the name, perhaps even the one we're looking at, that he used a fake New Jersey driver's license to check into that hostel in Upper Manhattan. So along with all of that, there are some documents that the police said seem to be relevant to this case. I think we would stop short right now because we don't have enough information of calling that a manifesto, but we are told by investigators they believe he's carrying documents that may relate to motive.
Okay, I understand you're saying stop short now with regard to those documents because obviously this is an ongoing investigation, as your former ilk used to say, John Miller. But talk about this with regard to the decision that police made. It was on Friday that we were talking shortly after the police decided to, in your words, crowdsource and put the picture of this individual out publicly. We don't know yet if this is the guy, but if it is, that tactic was the game changer.
Well, it was. And I mean, it hangs on a couple of things. One, finally being able, after this massive video canvas, using so many detectives, to find that single moment, and you're looking at it right now, that single moment where he dropped the mask, he still had the hood on, and you could see that face and $1 million smile as he was talking to that hotel clerk at the hostel and asking people, if you know this person, if you see this face, no matter where you are in the country, we're looking for that call. So that worked today.
And John, with regard to the documents and the motive, is there anything else that your sources are leaning into? We know that, first of all, the bullet casing, which you talked about again last week, with some etchings on them suggesting the idea that this could be related to the United CEO's job and the idea that it is health insurance, which is not exactly a popular industry right now. And then, of course, what happened over the weekend with the backpack that was found in Central Park and monopoly money inside.
So the bullets had the writing on them: deny, delay, depose. Theoretically, these are the 3 Ds that critics use against the insurance industry when they say they're trying to slow down payments on claims and fight those with members of their customer base. So that's one, the monopoly money, perhaps a sign of greed. But when you look at what does this mean today, they have a person in custody. They're questioning that person. They have a gun. They have multiple false IDs, including one that may be relevant. So if you take that together and then say, what does the NYPD have to bring to this? They have DNA recovered from a water bottle that the suspect bought in a Starbucks and a power bar that they recovered parts of or the wrappers of, and a phone where they have a viable fingerprint. So that's a lot of forensic evidence that they can run against the fingerprints of the individual in custody, the DNA that they will get a search warrant to get from him if he doesn't give it voluntarily. And if in fact he's carrying documents that relate to this, a weapon that may be matched ballistically to the things that were recovered at the scene, including the shell casings and the bullets, this could come together very quickly, fairly quickly, and very solidly in terms of evidence.
I don't want to lose sight of the most important thing that you're reporting was found on this person, which is a gun. I mean,
that's
that
right.
Could be the
and I mean, we talk about the smoking gun. If this gun is ballistically matched to this crime, then the rest of the evidence, will surround that. But that's going to be something that they can determine within a high degree of certainty in a relatively short time. And I mean, one thing we're not mentioning here is there's a citizen involved here who had the care to look at those photos, to look at that individual, to probably compare them right there. I mean, imagine someone looking at their phone, looking at that customer, and making that call, which also means that if our reporting is correct, that it's a McDonald's employee, they are eligible for this $50,000 reward from the FBI and $10,000 from the NYPD.
Quite a story, absolutely, if this just does pan out to be the actual alleged suspect. Don't go anywhere, John. Stay close. I want to bring now into the conversation senior law enforcement analyst Charles Ramsey and retired FBI agent Dan Bruner. Commissioner Ramsey, let me just start with you. What are your thoughts on all of this information that we've gotten so far, and what does it tell you?
Well, this could be very significant. There's no question about that. I agree with everything that John said earlier. A couple things. Number one, the fact that the photograph was put out across the country, and even though the person's face was partially concealed, it was still enough there for people to kind of get a sense or a feel for what this individual might look like. And kudos to that employee at McDonald's who looked at this individual and then called 911. You know, normally we don't think we're going to be the ones to solve anything as a private citizen. If you see something, you say, it's probably not the person. But this individual acted, and it may turn out to be the absolute right thing to do. The other thing is the recovery of a gun. Now we have forensic evidence from the scene. We have shell casings, we have DNA, we have fingerprints. All these things, if they match up, then this is the person who's responsible that's going to be charged with this particular crime. So there's still a lot of work that has to take place, but this is a significant development, no question about it, and we'll see how it plays out.
Chief Ramsey, thank you for that. Dan Brunner, what are your thoughts?
I agree with Chief Ramsey and with John. One of the most important things in this investigation definitely was putting the photograph and the information out there, because you're multiplying the number of people that are looking for this individual. Clearly was on the run. He had a step or two ahead on NYPD, and they were behind him, gathering all the evidence. But the crucial part was getting him, getting some eyes on him. And the McDonald's employee should absolutely be applauded that they made the phone call, even if they had the suspicion that an individual matched the description of the suspect. That's the job of law enforcement. In my fugitive investigations, I've had countless number of people who called in a tip that it didn't turn out to be anything, but at least we had tips coming in. Eventually, the right tip comes in, and we've captured fugitives at the FBI just like this, just having someone who randomly looks across the counter and says, that sort of resembles the suspect. Let me call 911, let law enforcement handle it, and that was the right thing to do.
That was the right thing to do anyway. But a lot of people are not getting the kind of sympathy that they thought they would get concerning this United Healthcare CEO guy. The media the media obviously sympathizes with his family, but on social media, it's a different level entirely. And it's just weird. Anyway, let's see what CNN has to say concerning Daniel Penny.
Daniel Penny, the former Marine charged in the chokehold death of Jordan Neely on a New York City subway last year, was found not guilty of criminally negligent homicide by a Manhattan jury on Monday. This comes after a judge dismissed a more serious second-degree manslaughter charge last week after the jury could not come to a verdict on the count they were hung. Gloria Pazmino, tell us the latest.
Well, we are getting a live reaction right from inside that courtroom. My colleague Lauren Del Valle has been sitting there as the verdict was read. Not guilty. Visible smiles from Daniel Penny, who has just been acquitted on that second charge, the criminally negligent homicide. At the same time, the father of Jordan Neely, the victim in this case, escorted out of the room after he had an outburst with an expletive inside that courtroom as the verdict was being read. Court officers stepping in to escort Mr. Zachary Carter out of the room. Andrew Zachary, as his name, I should say. We are also hearing audible reaction directly in the park behind me. Protesters.
Okay, that's my audio. Look at the video right here. Look. There's one guy here, there's one guy there.
Escort Mr. Zachary Carter out of the room.
And Danielle Penny
Zachary,
never let
his name,
loose.
I should say.
That's
we
sad.
are also hearing
Two guys. One was there holding.
the
other one was trying to like, hey, what's going on right
here
here?
all morning. And they are now starting to chant loudly.
Three of them
in
needs to pay a
response to
fine.
this
All
verdict.
three of them. They need to pay a
Today,
fine.
for the first time in the past 6 weeks since we've been here, Daniel Penny also had some supporters in this crowd. But now we are hearing the chanting. In fact, it was something that his defense attorney tried to declare, ask for a mistrial on this morning because of the presence of loud supporters, which he believed could be heard by the jury inside
Jake.
the courtroom.
Jake Randall, bro. He says, damn, look, he's protecting everyone. Yeah, he ain't protecting no one. They're all in danger. What danger?
They were deliberating. They are chanting, no justice, no peace, which can be heard from inside that courtroom, according to my colleague, Lauren Del Valle. So for now, 6 weeks after the fact, Daniel Penny acquitted on the second charge, criminally negligent homicide. Days after this jury initially told this judge that they were hung on the top charge, the manslaughter and the second-degree charge, the most serious of the two. The DA moved to dismiss that charge after the jury said they couldn't come to an agreement, and after the judge agreed to dismiss the charge, he instructed the jury to go back into the deliberation room this morning and continue to deliberate. And now, just about an hour and a half after they started deliberating for the day, we are hearing back that verdict. Daniel Penny not guilty of the criminally negligent homicide charge, nearly a year after he placed Jordan Neely, a homeless street artist, in a fatal chokehold in a New York City subway.
Yeah, I mean, I have to say it's worth just reemphasizing the fact that this was a hung jury on the most serious charge, the second-degree manslaughter, and that was dismissed last week. And the jury of 12 coming out today and acquitting him of the lesser charge of criminally negligent homicide. Have we heard from Daniel Penny's team?
Well, one thing I can tell you is that, you mentioned the jury. This is a jury made up of Manhattanites. I sat here watching jury selection before the trial was getting started, and I watched just how carefully every juror was being questioned and picked out. These are people who live here in Manhattan. They ride the subway nearly every day. Many of them talked about the fact that they had witnessed outbursts on the subway. Some said that they at times felt threatened by those outbursts, but others said that they weren't. They were also asked about their experiences with mental illness and homelessness. And what I think all of that encapsulates and really just paints a picture about the state of New York City and many of the issues that the city is grappling with. Mentally ill people, homelessness, public safety, and the perception of public safety, especially in the city's subways. This was something that was really happening a lot at the time of the incident, and people continue to be concerned about. We are seeing that play out here by this jury.
All right, Gloria, thank you so much. I want to go to Joey Jackson now for some legal analysis. Joey, are you surprised by this? What's your reaction?
Yeah, Pamela, I'm not surprised by it. Certainly, we saw just last week that they were hung up on the reckless charge. That was the manslaughter charge that carried the 15 years. And I think that there were concerns as to why they were hung up. I think when you look at this, what does it tell us? First of all, we have to look at what criminally negligent homicide means. It means that the jury would conclude that he was negligent. That is, that he failed to perceive the risk that his activities could cause the death of Jordan Neely. However, I think that there are two issues that you look at that are critical. Number one, was it self-defense? Certainly, that's what the defense argued, that he, that is Jordan Neely, represented an immediate threat, and as a result of representing that immediate threat of death or serious physical injury, that restraining him in the way that he did was reasonable and appropriate. And so that was the one issue. I think the second issue was the dealing with the causation.
I mean, look at this video, guys. This wasn't like, you guys, I get it. You know, he's a veteran. He was in the Marines. You know, total respect to Daniel Penny for serving the country. I can never disrespect him. You know what? I respect him for serving in the Marines and being a veteran. But in this case, he is not a hero in this case, guys. Look, like the way he was talking about it, you would have thought like everybody was like, there's a man on the train, everybody get down now. Nope, it wasn't that. Look at people right there. Everybody was like, look, you can even tell people were trying to like, you know what, chill out a little bit. You could tell. Look at the guy right there. It's like, man, you may want to chill out a little bit, Penny.
What is causation?
I mean, look. Yeah, everybody right there needs to pay a fine, as far as I'm concerned. Everybody right there needs to pay a fine.
Appropriate.
Look.
And so that was the one issue. I think the second issue was the dealing
See
with
the way he
causation.
grabbed his arm.
What is causation?
Oh,
mean?
yeah, you paying
It means that the
50K
prosecution had to
minimum.
establish that
the one
he
that grabbed his
caused,
arm
that
right now need to pay
defendant in this case,
50K
Mr. Perry,
minimum.
the
What are
death,
you doing? What is
Jordan
this? Oh, man, this is hurtful. This is hurtful, guys. This is so hurtful to even watch. All of these guys needs to pay a fine. Daniel Penny needs to pay the highest fine, but those two guys, look at the way he grabbed his arm. This guy was already on the floor.
The one issue. I think the second issue was the dealing with causation. What does causation mean?
Oh, hell
It means that
no.
the prosecution had to establish that he caused, that is the defendant in this case, Mr. Perry, the death of Jordan Neely. And there was really dispute on the medical evidence. On the one hand,
Why are you
had
grabbing his arm like that? And why is Daniel Penny the only person on trial? What about these two guys right here? Look at his arm. He probably almost broke his arm. Like, wow. I just hope people can find love in their heart, really. Just find love in your heart, bro, because sometimes people are going through a lot of stuff. He's a Marine. I hope he's not going through PTSD to, you know what I mean, like fight or flight situation in his heart. You know, these two guys standing here needs to be taken to like questioned. Like, what are you doing? Grabbing this guy's arm like this when he was already on the floor being choked.
the prosecutor's medical examiner saying, in fact, it was the chokehold that caused it. On the other hand, you had the defense saying a number of things. Number one, that there wasn't sufficient pressure applied such that it could be the chokehold. Number two, that schizophrenia diagnosis.
Wait, why is this guy holding his arm? Is it like making sure the choke is very well placed? Is it like trying to make sure, okay, let's make sure he's being choked properly or what? Why are you holding his arm? It's 3 against 1. How is that even fair? It wasn't even a fair fight. Like a hero that y'all saying is a hero. It needs to be a fair fight. Okay? This ain't no fair fight.
The issue with the synthetic marijuana, et cetera, caused it. So I think there were plenty of issues for the jury to conclude
Justice
that
wasn't
just beyond a
goddamn
reasonable doubt,
served,
either
bro.
A, it was self-defense, and B,
Look, there was nobody
that
on the train. Look, nobody on the train. Look, there's nobody on the train.
reasonable doubt, either A,
Where are
it
the
was
people on the train?
self-defense, and B,
oh no,
that he wasn't the cause. So those were 2 good reasons as to why they could have quit, and that's exactly what they did.
Yeah, this ain't like, nah. Hell nah. Yeah, hell nah.
Daniel Penny found not guilty of negligent homicide in the death of Jordan Neely. We were just hearing reaction from Jordan Neely's father and other supporters. The jury reached a decision after more than 20 hours of deliberations. This is Outnumbered. I'm Harris Faulkner, here with my co-host Kayleigh McEnany and Emily Campagno. Also joining us today, Molly Line, Fox News correspondent. Great to see her. And Larry Kudlow, host of Kudlow on Fox Business. Also great to see you, Larry. CB Cotton on the story. CB, it is unfathomable at this point, as two black women on screen, that this has come down to a race issue and not about Daniel Penny's innocence. Like, not guilty.
Shut up. I love you, Faulkner, but shut up. Okay, shut up. Like, what are you doing? Daniel Penny's innocence. Did you see the video? Did you see the video, huh? Come on, man. At least let him pay a fine, okay?
Well, I can tell you, Harris, the protesters who are here outside the courthouse are very, very upset right now. They're chanting no justice, no peace. And we actually just heard in a press conference from several of Jordan Neely's family members, Jordan Neely's father, Andrew Zachary, saying he misses his son and he believes there is a two-tiered system of justice. But I also want to talk about the moments in the courtroom when we heard this not guilty verdict. For the first time, we saw some emotion from Daniel Penny when he learned his fate. He smiled in that courtroom. His defense attorney started clapping, and this was obviously a very joyous moment for the defense. But for Neely supporters, there was anger. When the defense attorney started clapping, Jordan Neely's father said, quote, "Are you trying to get effing killed?" An activist in the courtroom also started making loud threats, one of them saying, quote, "It's a racist effing country." So tensions are particularly high here at the courthouse. Jurors this morning, they went back to deliberate for a little more than an hour before they went back to the deliberations room. I want to paraphrase what the judge told jurors. He said something to the effect of, no juror should surrender his or her honest view of the verdict just because you want to make an end to deliberations. I hope that helps. So we know jurors went back to deliberate at around 10:15 this morning, and they came back at 11:30 with a verdict of not guilty of criminally negligent homicide. This all comes, though, after jurors last Friday were deadlocked twice on the higher charge of second-degree manslaughter. After they came back the first time deadlocked, the judge read an Allen charge and sent them back to deliberate. Then they came back in the afternoon, deadlocked again. And at that point, the prosecution made a request for that higher charge to be thrown out. The defense objected to it and called for a mistrial. Defense attorney Thomas Kniff said he thought it'd be coercive for jurors to continue deliberations. Nonetheless, defense attorneys told me they were trying to stay level-headed about today, hoping that this decision would come. And now we know, of course, jurors have found Daniel Penny not guilty of criminally negligent homicide. And I want to share this from our Fox legal researchers about that top charge, second-degree manslaughter, which again was thrown out. I've learned that if DA Bragg does try to bring another prosecution on the grounds of...
And the DA Bragg, he's already been... he's already effed up before with Trump. Okay, so now it's like nobody thinks he has any credibility. Because I do see credibility in this case, but with what he brought against Trump and all that stuff, now people are like, man, look, this is the left. Because, of course, it's a DA that tried to get Trump. He campaigned because he said, I'm going to get Trump if you let me win. And now it's the person bringing the indictment on Penny. So, of course, this is why you need to be reasonable. So when it's time to actually do things that matters to the society, to the people, then people can actually see you, that you are a true person that actually upholds the law. But when you ran on the basis of getting Trump and then you win and then you go after Trump, and now this is a family that actually needs you to do your job, but people are going to look at you like you're not capable of doing your job because you're just a leftist. You know what I mean? Because this right here, I think Daniel should pay a fine. I can never change my mind when it comes to this, because First of all, he's not a hero. He is a Marine veteran hero. But on that train, he was not a hero.
Of second-degree manslaughter, it may be considered double jeopardy, so he may not even be able to do it. But for now, a tense courthouse here as both sides remain divided.
CB, I appreciate all of that. Thank you. I do want to ask you the size of the crowd out there and if it is looking decidedly different than it did earlier. It was a pretty big number of protesters. What does it describe it to us now?
I would say there are about 24 protesters here in support of Jordan Neely. This morning we had about 5 protesters in support of Daniel Penny. We saw a small clash. Police quickly moved in, and the supporters here for Neely are still here. They've calmed down a bit, but we are expecting things to possibly pick back up.
Have you seen any movement of the city's mayor, Eric Adams, or DA Alvin Bragg coming out to sort of deal with potential animus in the situation? That's not the word I'm looking for. Inciting.
Now he's a star. Daniel Penny is a star. Netflix is probably going to give him a deal, make a movie out of this whole situation. Yeah. He's probably going to get a big fat check for what happened on the subway. Okay. And same thing goes for the Jordan Neely's family. They're probably going to get another fat check for what happened on the subway, and whoever gets the check first wins, okay? So people are going to go after Jordan Neely's family and say, come tell your story. And people are going to come after Daniel Penny, come tell your story. So, look, at this point, the deed has been done. I think Penny should pay a fine. But also, they need to get paid too.
Is what I'm looking for here.
We have not seen New York City Mayor Eric Adams today, and we have not seen Manhattan DA Alvin Bragg. We do know that Bragg sat in for one day of the trial. To my memory, that's the only time he was here one day of the trial. But protesters here are now blaming New York City Mayor Eric Adams for this verdict. So there's a lot more to watch for this case.
And why do they blame him specifically? Are they saying?
I think they're not saying specifically why they're upset at him. I think perhaps they're upset by some of his recent statements where he said that a jury of Daniel Penny's peers will decide Daniel Penny's fate. And that's what has happened here at the courthouse. These were everyday New Yorkers on that.
This is the deal. He went to court. He was acquitted by a jury of his peers. They found him not guilty. Fine, let the man live his life. Let Daniel go home to his family, live his life. If New Yorkers are saying they don't want him in their city, look, there are 50 states in the United States. Daniel Penny can move with his family anywhere. There are a lot of people who would donate to Daniel Penny's life right now to get him moved from New York to somewhere like Florida or to somewhere like Virginia or whatever. Like, a lot of people want him to move to their city because they say he's a hero. So if he says my life is being threatened in New York, I need you guys to support me, a lot of people are going to support this guy. Okay, especially him being in the news on CNN, Fox. Do you know how many millions of people have heard about this news and are willing to support Daniel Penny? Same thing goes for Jordan Neely. A lot of people are willing to support Jordan Neely's family too to get justice and maybe appeal this case to Supreme Court. Look, it is what it is, okay? But the fact that a jury of his peers have acquitted him, it's only right for us to respect that decision and say, it is what it is. You've been acquitted. You're free, man. Do what you got to do. You know, I mean, nobody should be threatening Daniel Penny's life because he's not the jury. The court, he went to court. Okay, he went to court and he was found not guilty. I only said that he should have been fined a steep amount because next time you would know not to disarm another person in a way that would jeopardize their lives. Yeah. However, it's like that didn't happen. He was found not guilty by the court, so he's free to go to live his life, dream big, find a hobby, fight for his destiny, go after his aspirations, and just leave life. I mean, it is what it is.
A jury who take the subway every single day. Most of them said they take it, if not frequently, they take it sometimes.
CB Cotton, always great to be on screen with you. Thank you.
Thanks, Harris.
So, Larry, did America watch a city maybe pull back from something that would have harmed everybody? And that is, you punish heroes who step up. Is that what we just witnessed?
I think so.
Please. I was about to say, please, but okay. No. He's not a hero. I don't know how many times I'll say this. He ain't no hero.
I think he deserves a medal. I don't want to.
Oh, great. He deserves a medal. Oh, Lord Jesus. Now he deserves a medal. What? Because it was in Iraq or it was in Syria? He deserves a medal because it was on the subway? Oh, please, y'all. I mean, come on. Okay, so I get you guys think he's a hero. Do you think he deserves a medal? He deserves a medal, people. He deserves a medal, guys.
Talking about it offset. Absolutely. I mean, I think once again, Alvin Bragg gets his ears pinned back. The guy never deserved to be district attorney. He should be impeached if such a thing were possible, but it's not in New York City. You have to, and by the way, the police, let's give the police some credit in a lot of these things. We'll get to this, I guess, but we're on the march for this killer of the United Healthcare.
Well, they've arrested a man fitting his description in Pennsylvania, so we've got to figure out if that's him. So we'll get to that
Ray
in a moment.
Kelly, once you have facial ID, you're in good shape. But coming back to this, New York needs this. We have to show that we're capable of preserving the safety of people and businesses and families and schools in this city. Truthfully, in the last several years, New York has failed to produce that, as so many criminals have been caught, sentenced, and left. They just left. They just, no jail, no bail, no nothing. And of course, they tried it with Donald Trump, and that didn't work so well either. And if they keep up with the Trump nonsense, the appeals court will knock that down as well. Bragg has lost every single thing he's done and every sense of perspective. Every sense of perspective for the people who live here, the people who visit here, and the people around the world who look at New York as the leader. For heaven's sakes, let us establish public safety.
Emily, what precedent does this set?
Well, as a New Yorker, it sets the precedent that now people hopefully will feel encouraged again or emboldened again to step in when everyone around them is terrified. The reality is that that jury saw this for exactly what it was, which is someone coming to the rescue of everyone else terrified in a car. And those of us who live here, who take public transportation, experience this kind of stuff all the time. And it's because of the lack of law enforcement, because of this crippling, ridiculous district attorney that we've been subjected to an explosion of crime on the streets at the hands of those recidivist criminals that law enforcement can do nothing about because their hands are strapped too. Those that are racializing this or protesting vociferously, to me, do not represent in any way the actuality of what occurred on that subway and this trial, which sees no color. No one cares about a color whatsoever in a subway car. No one cares about a color whatsoever on the streets. I know I speak for myself as a New Yorker and for every other New Yorker I know, because we are faced with the realities, not the enjoyment of being behind a computer screen.
When it comes to
That's
crime.
right.
That's not about race.
That's right.
That's
so
right.
those protesting, I just have to say, if I may, one last point, that similar to the, for example, riots that we saw on the West Coast when the arrest records came out and you actually realized, oh, none of them even live in that city. So I wonder, the loudest voices that have racialized this, that think that they're sort of taking up a flag. Right. I wonder, do they live here? Do they take the subway? So
please, I've taken the subway like 10,000 times, okay? The subway, people do what they do on the subway. People get in your face, they're dancing, they're going, what you gonna do? Like, what are you supposed to do? Like, kill someone because they get in your face? Okay, nah, they ain't it. They ain't it. Words are words. Okay, we need to get better. If people lose their life just based on words, then a lot of people probably wouldn't be alive right now. Okay, so do I think he's a hero? I don't think he's a hero. Absolutely not. But he's been acquitted, and they said he's free to go. So, yeah, he's free to go. However, they're saying this is going to embolden people to protect the people. So what? To embolden people to, like, choke more people on the subway? I mean, what? I mean, does that make any sense? This goddamn media. Sometimes I like the media. Sometimes the media says total BS.
I think, to me, when I heard the verdict, it was a sigh of relief. And as an attorney, it was a major sigh of relief that the legal massive error and injustice that the judge did by dismissing the first charge and then saying, but we're going to preserve the second, and no, it's not coercion. Thank God it cured that, sort of.
Molly, what does it tell us, though, that the reason that we got to the spot that Emily is talking about was because at least one person was a standout and wanted to find this guy guilty of second-degree manslaughter. Yeah. Like that, we can't just say this was a pure not guilty. We got here because somebody before last Friday said, oh, no, he's guilty of killing. It's manslaughter. So there was this point today with Jonathan Turley, and he said, look, if they don't come down with a verdict and this just comes back as a hung jury, they can try again.
Yeah, and I think that brings us to partly what Emily was talking about. Here we are, we're in the season of peace, and now I have a lot of questions about peace. Will we see peace across the city tonight? Will there potentially be riots? Will those riots potentially be, as you talked about, other people?
Okay, so Gamer Geek says he was attacking people. What evidence do you have of that? No evidence, just hearsay. No evidence, just hearsay. No evidence, absolutely no evidence of him attacking anybody. And you saw the video, you saw the pictures. There was nobody going like biting their teeth and say, oh, we're scared. The definition of a hero is everybody in there is a weakling and you came to save the day. Nobody there was a weakling. There were two other guys restraining this dog right here. So you see what I mean? Like, I mean, you could call him whatever you want to call him. You could say he's a hero. It is what it is. That's your opinion. But he's not a hero, first of all. He definitely doesn't deserve a Medal of Honor. He's a Marine veteran. Thank you for your service. But not a hero on the subway.
There are actors that look at this as a cause that can be put on as theater all across the country. The other question I have about if this offers some sanity, some hope for people that are riding the subway, will people feel brave enough to step in? Will that help to make the city more peaceful? And I wonder about Daniel Penny and his peace for the rest of his life. You know, he's a young former Marine who stepped up in one moment, and now his face is out there for the rest of his life. And while there are many people that believe that he is at the height of heroism, there are all these others, some actors that we may see in the city tonight or in other places across the nation. So this is something he'll be dealing with for the rest of his life.
So, Kaylee, I am curious. I've not lived in the city before, but I have watched the crime explode, as Emily was describing, from across the Hudson River. I wonder, though, what this means for the rest of the country, because crime happens everywhere. So it's not just about being locked underground in a subway car with a bunch of people and a man who's threatening to harm others, and someone will die today, is what Jordan Neely said in that subway car. But it's everybody who might have a hero among them who wants to come forth. This changes, I think, the conversation.
You're exactly right. I predict we are going to see a national chilling effect on Good Samaritans across the country, just like we saw the Ferguson effect, a national chilling of policing across the country in the wake of what happened to Darren Wilson. So despite winning, this is not a victory. A victory would be a DA never bringing this. A victory would have been a judge dismissing this. This did not happen. It's great news. It's not a victory. But what happened today was as important as what happened on November 5th of this year. President Donald Trump prevailed in that election. Today,
No. Don't even compare November 5th to this guy right here. Come on, man. Y'all be wilding. Don't compare November 5th to this right here. This is total BS, okay? November 5th was over, 76 million people giving this man a mandate. So now you're going to compare. This is how they mess up the whole situation. They're trying to paint a big picture to make people think, oh, this guy is actually a hero and deserves a Medal of Honor. They're trying to compare him to the 47th. Like, how?
I am not overstating it by saying this was huge. It was a victory for justice. But think about Daniel Penny and the road he has ahead. He has civil litigation now that the father has filed. He has untold legal expenses that he had to pay for this case. Who's going to pay those? He's a 26-year-old guy who served his country honorably. The media, I read in the New Yorker this weekend, I wanted to throw my computer against the wall because this angered me so much. This casual line in a piece they wrote, the subway dancer strangled by the ex-Marine. This guy was convicted in the court of public opinion, despite being a hero, despite all of those on the subway calling him a hero and thanking him for his actions. To the point Larry mentioned, he deserves a congressional gold medal. Eli Crane has put forward legislation to give
congressional gold medal. That's total BS. That is total BS. He's getting the Medal of Honor for killing someone. I've never in my life heard this before. And y'all are going for this BS. Yeah, y'all need to unsubscribe because this is total BS.
Daniel Penny a congressional gold medal. I want to add to the day one priority of Donald Trump by saying, get behind this, put a tailwind, give this guy a congressional gold medal. He is nothing less than a hero. Justice prevailed, but his life thus far is still ruined.
I want to bring in Jonathan Turley now, legal scholar. Jonathan, you were with me as the story was breaking last hour. New set of questions now around this racially charged threat on the streets of New York from a few people. And I asked C.B. Cotton, tell me how many are there. Many more were there earlier today. Not guilty for Daniel Penny. They're angry. They're hinging everything on skin color. And we haven't heard from the mayor yet. And we haven't heard.
Shout out to Darren Woody. Darren Woody says, Genesis, you're BS. And you keep watching. If I am BS, why are you still watching? Like, easy. Adults would just, like, scroll. See what I mean? Like, if you don't like this, you just scroll. It's easy. But you stay to give an opinion because you probably have nobody listening to you back home. So you're going to go back to your mom's basement and you're going to keep watching this. That's what you're going to do. You're not going to keep scrolling. You're going to keep watching.
From DA Alvin Bragg to calm things down. If you are a citizen in the city of New York and your business is burned, your car is burned, I think you have a legal case against the city of New York if they don't step up and try and stop the threats that have been coming for hours this morning.
So you guys are saying a Medal of Honor is different, but they're saying they should give him a congressional gold medal. For what? For ending another man's life on the subway. So here you go, take a congressional gold medal. Oh, why did I win this gold medal? For killing someone.
Well, here is the interesting thing here is that we haven't heard from Bragg, but he's heard from the people of New York. Behind that mob outside the courthouse is the rest of New York. And I think that we've already seen that New Yorkers are fed up with the policies of Alvin Bragg and many others. This jury is New York. They were selected from this population. They didn't just immediately acquit. They deliberated, they divided, and ultimately they came together on the lesser charge. Keep in mind that this lesser charge, they could have secured conviction by just deciding that he had what was called blameworthy conduct. I mean, it's an incredibly low standard. And they unanimously said no. Now, that's after, of course, rejecting the higher crime, the more serious crime.
This is the deal right here. You guys want to give this guy a congressional Medal of Honor and then pardon Hunter Biden. Are we, like, what are we doing? You pardon Hunter Biden and you want to give this guy a congressional Medal of Honor.
Last week by simply deadlocking, but they did not reach a unanimous decision in that. So there is a possibility we had one or two holdouts last week that changed their mind, obviously, this weekend. What's also interesting about this verdict is it does have some blowback on the recently filed negligence case by the Neely family against Penny. Now, those cases represent a threat because they're under the lower standard for torts and civil cases of a preponderance of the evidence, not beyond a reasonable doubt. And so what's interesting about this is that this is basically a negligence standard. Many of us have been critical of the use of criminal negligence, but they were not able to secure a conviction here. Now they will.
TJN, first of all, he wouldn't have to save my mom, okay? And y'all saying if he saved your mom, like, he didn't touch one person on the train. If you have evidence of this guy actually touching somebody, like just like this, grabbing someone, if you have evidence, put it in the chat. Put the video in the chat. Put the video in the chat and let's watch it of Jordan Neely actually touching somebody on the train. Did he even touch anybody on the train? Oh, he said someone's gonna die today. That's all he said. How many times have you heard that? If you grew up in a brown skin, this is just facts, okay? If you grew up in a brown skin community, you've probably heard that at least 10 times in your lifetime. Someone's gonna die today. And then you end up eating dinner together. And then you end up having a good time that weekend. So it's like, someone's gonna die today. This ain't the first time we're hearing that. That ain't no threat to nobody up here. Oh, someone gonna die today. Bro, please sit your head down. That's how you're supposed to de-escalate it. Someone gonna die today. Man, bro, you don't want to do that. Sit your head down, bro. That's all you gonna have to say. And you stand up to him. Sit down, bro. You can't do this. Hey, I ain't gonna touch you. Sit down. Not 3 people trying to restrain one man. Come on.
Have a lesser standard of proof in the civil case against Penny. But going into that case, this has got to give them a lot of following wind.
Do you think Alvin Bragg would go for another bite at the apple? I mean, there's been some talk about double jeopardy, but not necessarily because this case wasn't declared a mistrial before they went to the lower charge.
Right. And this is the issue that we talked about earlier on the air. Normally, when you have a deadlock, it is an unresolved criminal charge. And the prosecutors can come back and bring it again. In this case, the judge dismissed the charge. And so the argument could be that, well, that's different than a simple deadlock. At the end, practically, I don't see how Bragg can do this. I mean, he just had a jury say, we didn't think he was even guilty of blameworthy conduct, and you're going to bring a higher charge against him? I mean,
Twice,
it would be absurd. But much of what Bragg does, most prosecutors would not do. So we're not making any assumptions here. But this is a great verdict. It's the right verdict, and it comes from people of this community.
Jonathan, thank you.
And that's where that's why I gave up. I said, you know what? The people of the community said he did nothing wrong. Okay, great. He should go on, live his life, enjoy himself. But personal opinion, he's not a hero, deserve no congressional gold medal or anything like that.
Now, Kayleigh McEnany, co-host of Outnumbered. One of the senators that's had some questions about Pete Hegseth's nomination, Joni Ernst. She was on with us last week. Here's what she said.
I think for a number of our senators, they want to make sure that any allegations have been cleared, and that's why we have to have a very thorough vetting process. All I will say at this time is that we did have a very thorough discussion over a number of those issues, and the vetting will continue, I am certain, through the next month or so until we approach that hearing date.
So the hearing date, we don't have it yet, and that will come. If and when this does go to a hearing, you can imagine that the Democrats at this point, they've been very quiet. I wanted to get your take on this. They've not said anything.
They've not said anything. I mean, it's shocking to me. I mean, Biden's chose not to mention any of the nominees. Kamala Harris, Adam Schiff said, let's focus on the economy. It is interesting that they're not waging a fight. Maybe they read the tea leaves.
Do you think it will last?
No, I don't think it will last. But I think there's this period of eating crow that they're doing right now. But we'll see with this. I mean, Joni Ernst, they've had multiple conversations, her and Pete Hegseth. Murkowski and Collins, he has not spoken with yet. But notably, and this is what the Trump transition team points out, no one is a no vote. No. This isn't a Matt Gaetz situation where there are multiple no votes. No one has said we're at no. I think this gets to a hearing. I think Pete Hegseth gets through, and his very public-facing push has served him very well.
Joni Ernst is going to have another meeting with Hegseth this week. She sent out an X last week. Trump did a long interview on NBC, Meet the Press. Here is a question about Birthright citizenship, something that hasn't come up a ton, but it has now. Watch.
You've promised to end birthright citizenship on day one. Is that still your plan?
Yeah, absolutely. We're the only country that has it. Do you know, if somebody sets a foot, just a foot, 1 foot, you don't need two, on our land, congratulations, you are now a citizen of the United States of America. Yes, we're going to end that because it's ridiculous.
Through executive action?
Well, if we can, through executive action. I was going to do it through executive action.
Could take it to Congress, too.
Yeah, you heard him say if we can. That's because birthright citizenship is enshrined in the 14th Amendment. Not only that, in 1898, in a Supreme Court case called Wong Kim Ark, they upheld birthright citizenship. In other words, there's constitutional precedent, there's Supreme Court precedent. You can try via executive action, but I think there are going to be some very big court hangups that might not go the way of the administration on birthright citizenship.
It's been a loophole when it comes to immigration.
Oh, it is. And I've gone back and forth, because I love the Constitution. I'm like originalist, but then I would love to hear what this court thinks about that, because they are originalists when it comes to the Constitution, and see if that precedent would hold up. But there's another issue, and that is with the Dreamers. And Obama tried to deal with this by executive action. The courts were like, that's not going to work out. Here's what President Trump said about working with Democrats on that.
The Dreamers are going to come later, and we have to do something about the Dreamers, because these are people that have been brought here at a very young age, and
you want them to be able to stay. That's what you're saying.
I do. I think we can work with the Democrats and work something out.
I mean, that would be pretty historic if he were able to do that.
Absolutely, and I think he has the political will to do so. If you remember, going back to January of 2019, he offered Nancy Pelosi DACA in exchange for border wall funding. Trump has always had a heart for the Dreamers, wanted to make an exception here. It makes a lot of common sense the way he explained it. I think he's the guy who gets it done, and what great irony is that? It's not Nancy Pelosi, it's not Obama, it's Biden, it's Trump that can get
A lot
this
of fits and starts on this issue.
Yeah.
Others have tried and failed repeatedly.
But he will make it a day one priority. NBC said a few Trump sources told them he's going to have at least 5 executive orders on day one. Stephen Miller is saying he wants a 2-pronged approach, tax cuts after immigration legislation. When you make it a day one priority, we'll see. It wasn't a day one priority last time because it was Obamacare. This time it's day one.
Day one's going to be something else.
Yes, it will.
Yes.
One thing I don't still get is Trump is now the president-elect, the 47th. Is still saying he has a concept of a plan when it comes to healthcare. He needs to bring the smartest people, put them in a room. He has Elon, RFK, Tulsi, JD, Vivek. He has all these smart men and women that can come together and set up a plan like a concrete plan when it comes to healthcare. That's still something that, I mean, during the debate when he said he has a concept of a plan for healthcare, in my mind is like, okay, great. I mean, he's not the president yet. He shouldn't spill all his sauce on the debate stage. And people were saying the same thing on the chat. However, now he is the president-elect, will be the president on January 20. So if he's still saying Obamacare is total BS, what is the plan to replace it? That is another thing that I'm like, okay, OG, we know you're the Don. We know you're the OG. We know you're a legend. We know. That ain't no question. Okay, that's not a question. This guy is the best for the economy, the best for foreign policies. If you're looking for someone who is going to give America strength, if you're looking for someone who is going to make peace through strength, that's the guy that you're waiting for, Donald J. Trump. However, it's like, the healthcare system, you've been saying Obamacare is total BS. Okay, it is total BS. What's the next move?
It will be.
See you at noon.
Yes. Great to see you, Kaylee. Thanks for coming.
All right, man. That's the only thing I have right there. Like, he should come up with a concrete plan and then let people know. As a matter of fact, that would actually be his legacy. If he can come up with something really affordable for all people, better than Obamacare, that would be Trump's legacy. He's already like a great legend at this point. But if he does something concerning healthcare where every type of people benefit from it, every type of people benefit from it. He's gonna be remembered forever, at least for the next 20 years minimum.
All right, did you hear about this? Rapper and music mogul Jay-Z is now being
going
accused
after
of
Hov.
raping a 13-year-old
Hov,
girl
bro.
with Sean
Hov.
Diddy Combs during an MTV VMA after.
Y'all knew it was just a matter of time before the party got to Hov. It was just a matter of time before the party got to Hov. I mean, they got his best friend, at least in the industry. We don't know his best friend really, but in the industry, his best friend is Diddy. He's been seen with Diddy, partied with Diddy, associated with Diddy for years, at least 2-3 decades now. And it's like, there's no way he wouldn't know Diddy was doing whatever he was doing. If Diddy was actually doing what he was doing, Hov definitely, probably, maybe, just maybe. I mean, I'm not saying for sure, but just maybe though, Hov probably knew. But now they're saying Jay-Z is accused of sexually assaulting 13-year-old.
After party in the year 2000, the rapper issued a blistering statement in response and directed his comments at attorney Tony Busby, who filed the suit, saying, quote, "You've made a terrible error in judgment thinking that all celebrities are the same. I'm not from your world. I'm a young man who made it out of the project of Brooklyn. We don't play these types of games. We have very strict codes and honor. We protect children.
Here
You
we
seem to
go.
exploit people for
Now, this is the thing. He's saying we protect children. I don't, what does that mean? If he was friends with Diddy and he's saying we protect children, what does that actually mean? I hope all of this doesn't take him down. I hope he comes out strong. I really never pray for anybody's downfall, okay? That's not me. I never pray for anybody's downfall. However, it's like, if you're saying we protect kids over here and then Diddy was your best business partner in the industry, at least y'all were like the big dogs. It's like, how would you say you protect children? If Diddy actually did those things and you're saying you protect children, how does that even correlate?
personal gain. I look forward to showing you just how different I am. Criminal defense attorney Lexi Rigdon joins me now. Lexi, good morning to you. What a development here. So another thing Jay-Z said in his statement is that this was a civil suit filed against him. And he said these allegations are so heinous in nature that I implore you to file a criminal complaint, not a civil one, essentially saying, if I really did these things, treat me the way I should be treated. So how should we be thinking about all of this? What do you think?
Well, that's some denial from him. And, you know, sometimes celebrities have pretty muted denials, like, you know, I'm not going to comment now, or I direct all questions to my lawyers. I actually admire the strength of the denial. You know, I think that there is at this point, there's no objective indicia of reliability to this complaint. Now, obviously, things are going to play out and we're going to end up learning more. But if you look at it on its face, it's a 24-year-old complaint. Very significantly, he was not named in the lawsuit in the first instance when it was filed. The girl was allegedly 13 at the time it happened. And in the complaint, it says that she had been given something and she was, quote unquote, woozy. And so I think that this just needs to be looked at in kind of a measured way. Unlike the media is treating some people in the media, you know, Pete Hegseth being one of them, where they automatically hear an allegation and they run with it. I think that this needs to be treated in a measured type of way. We don't need knee-jerk societal reactions. Anybody can make allegations against somebody, and people who are rich and famous are particularly targets. And so obviously I don't know what happened, but I think it just needs to play out, and you know, we need to give him the benefit of the doubt at this point.
Well, that's what Tony Busby is saying. And so this federal lawsuit was originally filed in October. So interesting that we're only learning about this now. And then
and this may just be a money grab situation, but this will be hard for Hov to get out of, in my opinion, because now that one person has started this, a lot of people are just going to keep coming out and say, yes, he did this. Yes, he did that to me. Oh, yes, he did this in 2005. A lot of people are going to keep coming out now because people's perception was Hov was untouchable, like he was untouchable. But now it's like, maybe you're not untouchable. And that's what people are beginning to see now. And just like what happened to Didi, everybody felt like Didi was untouchable. Okay, man, you're untouchable, Didi. But now it's like, oh shoot, he's not actually untouchable. That's what is going on with Hove right now. Now that this one person has brought the complaint against him, I'm guessing more would be coming out.
Tony Busby responded to Jay-Z's statement by writing this on X. Since I sent the letter on her behalf, meaning the defendant, Mr. Carter has not only sued me, but he has tried to bully and harass me and this plaintiff. We will let the filing speak for itself and will litigate the facts in court, not in the media. A spokesman for the U.S. Attorney's Office in the Southern District of New York declined to comment on whether the office is pursuing this case. So what happens next?
Well, who knows what's going to happen with that? I mean, we don't know if the feds are going to be looking into this. They may well be at this point. I think that there are people further looking into Diddy. I think there might be a superseding indictment coming and probably looking into the people that he's associated with himself. But this also may well be beyond the statute of limitations. So it really just depends. I mean, as it stands right now, I can't imagine that there's enough evidence to necessarily bring something, because somebody's accuser saying something happened 24 years ago without more evidence is probably not going to be enough. But then again, we don't know what evidence she has. So it really remains to be seen if this is actually going to be passed on to the criminal authorities or if they're working on it at this point.
All right, so jury deliberations in the Daniel Penny case are set to resume today after the judge dismissed Penny's second-degree manslaughter charge, which carried a 15-year prison sentence. A jury is now being asked to consider a charge of criminally negligent homicide, which carries a 4-year prison sentence. Tell us what criminally negligent homicide is, and should Daniel Penny be worried about being found guilty of it?
Well, criminally negligent homicide is that
we already seen this one. He's already discharged and acquitted. So great for Daniel Penny. Congratulations to him. He ain't no hero though.
This morning, rap mogul Jay-Z is denying allegations he sexually assaulted a 13-year-old girl alongside rapper Sean Diddy Combs. That civil lawsuit filed against Combs in October was amended Sunday to include Jay-Z. The accuser, identified only as Jane Doe, says she was sexually assaulted by both men at a Video Music Awards after party in 2000. In a blistering statement, Jay-Z accuses Jane Doe's attorney of trying to blackmail him. He said further, quote, "These allegations are so heinous in nature that I implore you to file a criminal complaint, not a civil one. Whomever would commit such a crime against a minor should be locked away. Would you not agree?" He added, "My only heartbreak is for my family. My wife and I will have to sit our children down, one of whom is at the age where her friends will see the press and ask questions about the nature of these claims and explain the cruelty and greed of people." Joining us now, Joey Jackson, CNN legal analyst and criminal defense attorney and former prosecutor. There's a lot to unpack here. Joey, I want to start with just the statement from Jay-Z, which is so forceful in its denial. I just read a teeny part of it. It's long, where he says that they should file a criminal complaint. Is that even possible at this point?
So based on the allegations, Jessica, good morning. Good to see you. I think that it certainly could be. Why do I say that? Now, he, of course, is more than annoyed, would be an understatement.
Yeah.
He has a family and he has a lot to protect, including his brand. But to the extent that he's saying, hey, come after me criminally, that could be likely. Why do I say that? Because rape in New York, and what's alleged in this complaint, is forcible compulsion. What that means in English is that it's saying that he held her down, raped her, and that, of course, the allegation is that Mr. Combs did the same thing. And so if those facts are actually accurate, it would require an investigation by prosecutors. And if true, right, you could pursue it criminally. Now, with respect to the evidentiary value, yes, it happened 24 years ago, right, more than 24 years ago. But in the allegations, there's a few things. Number one, there's allegation that another celebrity was present at the time, right, in addition to other people. Number two, there's the claim by the victim, right, that she left, that she went and she was seen by a gas attendant who saw her in distress. Number three, that she phone called her dad, who showed up, the 13-year-old, and now removed her. So civil complaint, simply allegations, needs to be proven in a court of law, but if true, it could rise to the level of criminality, and, you know, we'll see what happens or if the DA looks and investigates.
So what happens now?
So what happens now is this is simply a civil complaint. And in a civil complaint, it goes through the technical legal process. Now, the distinction, Jessica, between civil and criminal, of course, is that civil is for monetary damages, right? The system can only reward you with money. There's allegations that this 13-year-old is suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder, suffered depression, etc. So now you go to fact-finding, right? Before that, just briefly, there was a demand letter sent. And a demand letter is a letter being sent by a lawyer saying, hey, I don't have to sue you. We can sit, we can mediate it. If we reach an agreement, it never sees the light of day. Jay-Z saying, I don't care about your demand letter. I look at it as blackmail. You want to sue me, sue me. You want to look at it criminally, look at it criminally. But it'll go through the fact-finding process. If a trial is necessary to determine the facts, that's what will happen. But it'll be deemed civil. No indication at this point as to whether or not any criminal investigation will ensue as a result of this.
Yeah, and Jay-Z came back incredibly forcefully against these allegations and really singled out that attorney as well for being, I'm paraphrasing here, but greedy, saying he's out to get money, and calling that letter essentially blackmail.
Yeah, and in addition to that, Jessica, also suing the attorney, saying he's intimidating him, harassing him, etc. Now, demand letters are not new. What lawyers do is they send them out as a matter of protocol and practice so that you can expedite the process. At the same time, there's certain ethical standards that you have to use, and you have to have a good faith factual belief that this is true. Now, you can argue this complaint was filed in October, right? Could have mentioned Jay-Z then. You didn't. Why? It was amended now.
Yeah, that's true. Like, when this old complaint was filed, you didn't mention Jay-Z. Why? Yeah, that should be asked, okay? I mean, come on.
Include him. Are the factual assertions true? Are they fact or fiction? Is it a money grab or not? All of that will be litigated in a court of law, but according to Jay-Z, this never happened, is pure fiction. It is a money grab, and he's fighting for his name, reputation, and certainly innocence and justice in his view, which is he didn't have anything to do with it.
Yeah, and you touched on a point, too, that I wanted to ask you about, which was that this was an amendment to this already existing lawsuit. What are people to take away from that? The fact that they're coming back and adding to this now with this specific name?
Yeah, you know, Jessica, so it depends. That's also common. You could amend lawsuits, right, as a matter of course, and you do, to include certain factual allegations. The interesting thing to me in terms of your question and the takeaway, if you had this information about Jay-Z, it happened allegedly in September of 2000, why not include it in the original complaint? What happened between October and now that necessitated you putting in,
maybe
and it's a question of credibility. Was he celebrity A?
Maybe Didi's in there singing like a canary, singing loud. Maybe Didi's in there singing, yo. Who knows?
Right, as was noted in the October complaint, is this pure fiction? And what's interesting in the complaint is he really, that is the lawyer, tries to tie Jay-Z to Mr. Combs in so many ways, right? Birds of a feather is the argument that he's making. You can make that argument. You need the facts to sustain it. Let's see if they come up with any facts.
All right.
This is way too wild, guys. Too wild. I mean, Hove, this is like people's mentors, icon, legend. I mean, Sean Combs, Sean Carter, both has the same name. They both have the same name, Sean. That's wild. Two Seans. All right, here we go.
Are you going to go after Joe Biden?
I'm really looking to make our country successful. I'm not looking to go back into the past. I'm looking to make our country successful. Retribution will be through success. I'm looking to bring prices down because, you know, I won on two things, the border and more than immigration. You know, they like to say immigration. I break it down more to the border, but I won on the border and I won on groceries.
President-elect Trump dismissing fears he will encourage federal prosecutors to go after his political enemies. Let's bring in Sage Steele. It's great to have you here in person.
Thank you, guys.
I always thought that when he had that line, and I can't remember, it was either an interview or a debate when they were asking him, what are you going to do for retribution? He said, success will be, and I was like, wow, that's a great line. I loved it. And it's also a great principle.
It is.
I think for all of us to remember, maybe make myself remember that at times
exactly.
too, of the entire interview with Kristen Welker, that I stopped at that moment. That was my favorite line. And to me, it is almost like a softer, gentler, kinder Donald Trump, who has softened through this whole process. I think it's fascinating. I think it's the right thing. And that is why people elected him, is because they knew, even people who were anti-Trump for all these years, right? They knew all the other side stuff, it doesn't matter. He has proven through his track record that he is the best person to do this job, to fix us, to make us better. And to go backwards, I think even he knows at this point,
I don't think he has time to go
unnecessary.
backwards.
Yeah.
Right? He has a lot he wants to accomplish.
Yeah.
And that's going to take time.
You know what I've found is...
I'm almost proud of him, though, for it. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's progress for him.
Yeah, what I have found is that a lot of people, not a lot of people, but a lot of Americans were not really in tune with the immigration issue until they started busing them to places like New York, Chicago, and Martha's Vineyard, by plane that was. When he talks about groceries, what he's talking about is inflation. And he's also talking about energy. You can drive energy prices down, which will lower the standard, the cost of living for all Americans. Keep an eye on that. Meanwhile, I don't know if we're going to get another pardon. We may not. Let's go back in time to what KJP has said about this so far.
Is there any possibility that the president would end up pardoning his son?
No, the president's not going to pardon his son. Will he pardon his son? No. He said he would not pardon his son.
Does the president have any intention of pardoning him?
We've been asked that question multiple times. Our answer stands, which is no.
Well, 42 more days. We'll see what he does.
Cap on cap, always cap. He's gonna pardon more people. He has 41 or 42 more days. So look, you get ready for tons of pardons.
Decides to do. It's his prerogative.
Sure.
There will be others who will be pardoned. We just don't know who they might be and whether or not they're family members.
Yeah. You know, I will say, when the news came down about him pardoning his son, the first person I thought of was Karine Jean-Pierre.
Yeah.
Not for sympathy or empathy. Maybe you, because you've been in those shoes. And I even tweeted, this is not her fault. She's a mouthpiece. Now, are there decisions we have to make based on our bosses, and do we want to be part of things that we know are lies or could be lies? I guess so, but at the end of the day, she was doing her job. And she deserves the...
Facts. She was doing her job. I mean, there's no two-way to say it. It's facts. She was doing her job. Now, could she had said, you know what? I want to go. Okay, I'm tired. Yeah, she could have. But she's just doing her job, too. That's just the truth. She was doing her job. Like they said, Kamala was doing her job. She was just doing her job. You know, she was just doing her job. But she could have just said, let the president figure, look, I'm tired. I am tired.
The questioning at this point, right? Because she did stand up there, but did she know he was going to do this the whole time? What is she supposed to do and say?
Well, the other thing is, I feel that Biden really did her a disservice, because if you're going to do that to your press secretary, then you should be the one to stand up and take the arrows and take the questions and say.
That's true. That's true. Yeah. He should be the one to stand there and say, I'm not going to pardon myself. He said it, but then he made her, maybe he didn't make her say, but she just had to say it.
Don't blame her. That was my position. I changed my mind, and here's why, but he's incapable of doing that. So she basically has become a piñata for the past week.
He is incapable, and more so with his character.
And maybe
I believe
unwilling.
That's what I was going to say. The character, this part, he's unwilling, and that's the key, and that's why they lost.
Sage, same for coming in.
Thanks for having me, guys.
She's going to Nashville.
There we go.
Safe travels.
Thank you, Sage. Nice to see you.
Thank you, guys. Good to
What's
see you in
next,
person.
Yes, sir. Thank you for tuning in to the live stream. You know what time it is. It is your boy, Genesis. Smash the like button, double tap your screen, subscribe to the channel. And, of course, thank you for tuning in. What is going on right here?
Join me now with more on President Trump's upcoming...
We've seen that. Okay, so here is the update on... Give me a moment. I probably have 3 more videos for us to talk about, and that would be it. Wait. Okay. Let's do this one. I'm gonna make lunch for my daughter, and I'll be right back real fast. Here we go.
The shooting that shook our city
last week. CEO Brian Thompson of United Healthcare.
This was probably what, today, like a couple of minutes ago. Whoa, Eric ain't playing. Let's get it. The mayor of New York, Eric Adams,
was the victim of a senseless act of violence. Our officers have been working around the clock. Many of them did not go home to pursue this individual. It was crucial that we were able to remove him off the streets of America, and we were going to seek him out no matter where he was at the time. And so this is a strong person of interest. The police commissioner and chief of detectives will go over where we are right now in the investigation. He matches the description of the identification we've been looking for. He's also in possession of several items that we believe will connect him to this incident. How did we do it? Good old-fashioned police work. The chief of detectives and the police commissioner made the decision to release as much of a photo that we had at the time. We sent it across the country, and someone, a McDonald's employee, did something we ask every American to do. If you see something, say something, but most importantly, do something. And they did. And because of that, we believe we have a strong person of interest to deal with this case. I want to now turn it over to the police commissioner of the city of New York, Commissioner Tisch.
Thank you, Mayor. Good afternoon, everyone. Earlier this morning in Altoona, Pennsylvania, members of the Altoona Police Department arrested Luigi Mangione, a 26-year-old male, on firearms charges. At this time, he is believed to be our person of interest in the brazen targeted murder of Brian Thompson, CEO of United Healthcare, last Wednesday in Midtown Manhattan. The suspect was in a McDonald's and was recognized by an employee who then called local police. Responding officers questioned the suspect, who was acting suspiciously and was carrying multiple fraudulent IDs as well as a U.S. passport. Upon further investigation, officers recovered a firearm on his person as well as a suppressor, both consistent with the weapon used in the murder. They also recovered clothing, including a mask consistent with those worn by our wanted individual. Also recovered was a fraudulent New Jersey ID, matching the ID our suspect used to check into his New York City hostel before the shooting incident. Additionally, officers recovered a handwritten document that speaks to both his motivation and mindset. NYPD detectives are en route to Pennsylvania as we seek to interview the subject further. This apprehension is thanks to the tireless work of the greatest detectives in the world, and of course, the strong relationships we have with our local law enforcement partners. On every level, local, state, and federal, we all serve the same public safety mission. And this case, which captured the attention of an entire nation, is another example of how connected we are and how important it is to work together, share information, and pursue every lead. For just over 5 days, our NYPD investigators combed through thousands of hours of video, followed up on hundreds of tips, and processed every bit of forensic evidence, DNA, fingerprints, IP addresses, and so much more to tighten the net. We deployed drones, canine units, and scuba divers. We leveraged the domain awareness system, Argus cameras, and conducted aviation canvasses. And our detectives also went door to door, interviewing potential witnesses and doing the good old-fashioned police work that our investigators are famous for. This combination of old-school detective work and new-age technology is what led to this result today. And we must also acknowledge the instrumental role the media and the public played in this case. The images that we shared shared with the public were spread far and wide, and the tips we received led to the recovery of crucial evidence. We should never underestimate the power of the public to be our eyes and our ears in these investigations. This is the third time in 3 weeks that a member of the public has seen something and said something and done something that led to a high-profile arrest. The triple stabbing homicide in Manhattan, the gunpoint robberies in Queens during which an NYPD officer was shot, and now this. Now, the case will continue through the criminal justice process. And while we are proud of today's accomplishment, we must, of course, remember that a family is in mourning. I want to again extend my sympathies to Brian's family, his co-workers, and all who knew him. Finally, I want to thank the women and men of the NYPD, especially our Detective Bureau personnel, with a strong assist from our intelligence analysts. We also thank the SAC of the FBI's Criminal Investigative Division, Leslie Rodriguez-Bekshies. And I want to commend the staff of the Manhattan DA's office, and especially DA Alvin Bragg. He has been working with us 24/7 on this case, and I am incredibly grateful for his partnership. I'll now pass it along to our great Chief of Detectives, Joe Kenny, who will provide additional information. Chief.
Thank you, Commissioner. Good afternoon. As the Commissioner stated earlier, a male was taken into custody today in Altoona, Pennsylvania this morning. He has been identified as Luigi Nicholas Mangione. He's a male, 26 years old. He was born and raised in Maryland. We know he has ties to San Francisco, California, and his last known address was Honolulu, Hawaii. He has no prior arrest history in New York. Members of the NYPD Detective Bureau are currently traveling to Pennsylvania with members of the Manhattan District Attorney's Office to interview this subject. This case was brought to a successful conclusion based on the coordinated effort between numerous NYPD units, including the Intelligence and Counterterrorism Bureau, our federal partners at the FBI, the Manhattan District Attorney's Office, and of course, members of the Altoona Police Department in Pennsylvania. On Thursday, one day after this crime was committed, the NYPD released a photo of the shooter in this case. This picture was obtained by the NYPD during one of their extensive video canvasses. We took that photograph and we asked for the public's help in identifying this subject, and the public responded. Hundreds of tips began to pour into our hotline. Each tip was investigated thoroughly, and we began to release additional photographs as they came into our possession. The NYPD provided these photos to numerous media outlets. Local, national, and international outlets released the photo via television, print, social media, and online content. Luckily, a citizen in Pennsylvania recognized our subject and called local law enforcement. Members of the Altoona Police Department responded to the call, and based on their investigation, they notified the NYPD. This investigation is still active and ongoing. Thank you very much.
Shooting first, and then we'll. Mark?
I had a couple of questions about the document that he was found in possession with. Can you go a little bit more in depth about those motivations that you mentioned? Was that CEO specifically named in that document? Was there anything more about him wanting to go after others? And also in that document, was there any indication that explains as how the level of detail that he went into killing him? Like, is there anything?
Like I said, that document is currently in the possession of the Altoona Police Department as part of their investigation. But just from briefly speaking with them, we don't think that there's any specific threats to other people mentioned in that document. But it does seem that he has some ill will toward corporate America.
Over here, sir.
NJ?
Chief, was the suspect wearing a mask at the time he was spotted in the McDonald's? And also, criminal cases often have a linchpin. Can you point to a single linchpin that helped crack this case?
There's numerous linchpins in this case, in the fact that we've recovered an enormous amount of forensic evidence, an enormous amount of video, and once again, with your help and the public's help. So I really couldn't put it on one thing, but if I had to, it would be the release of that photograph from the media.
Dean?
You said he had a passport on him. Do you believe he was trying to flee the country? And also, are you still looking for any evidence in Central Park in regards to the bike?
We had divers in the water yesterday that came up negative results. The passport, we don't believe that he was planning on doing any traveling at this time. We don't think he, at this point in our investigation, we don't think he was trying to flee the country.
The person at the McDonald's, were they buying food? What were they doing at that exact moment?
He was an employee at the McDonald's.
Right. But what was the suspect doing?
He was sitting there eating.
Will the suspect be brought back to New York and charged here? And when?
We're going to have to work that out with the Manhattan District Attorney's Office in Altoona, Pennsylvania. He's going to be facing gun charges there. And at some point, we'll work out through extradition to bring him back to New York to face charges here, working with the Manhattan District Attorney's Office.
Anita?
Hi, Neely from the New York Post. I was just hoping to get more details on the capture itself. Did he put up a fight? Did he say anything to cops? And we've also reported that he published online anti-health care industry rantings. Can you share with us some of the services that he posted on?
We're still working through his social media. We're going to do a complete scrub of that. Preliminarily, like I said, he seems that he has some ill will toward corporate America, but that will all come out as part of our investigation. We're not done here. We're still going to be putting this together. We're still going to be working very hard to bring this to a successful conclusion.
And the capture itself, did he put up a fight? Did he say anything to police?
I don't have that information.
Oh, sorry. Can you elaborate on how he got there, the path he took from Port Authority and on the George Washington Bridge to Altoona, PA?
Same thing. This just happened this morning. We'll be working, backtracking his steps from New York to Altoona, Pennsylvania.
I was going to ask if we knew anything, if he took a bus to Philadelphia first and then somehow got to Altoona. But
We're still working on that. We're still working through that.
Britain. Is there any indication that anybody else was helping him from the inside, you know, as far as tracking the CEO's movements?
Once again, we're still working this investigation very hard. It's not at its conclusion yet. That could come out during our investigation, but as of right now, we have no indication that that took place.
Chief, did he have any weapons or anything like that with him when he was arrested?
He was in possession of a ghost gun that had the capability of firing a 9mm round and a suppressor.
Can you get into a little bit about the technical aspects of the investigation? I know you deployed an unprecedented amount of technology. You also activated the Sentry program through Intel. Can you talk about how that is going to play into actually building the case as far as cell phone and all of the other technical aspects of what you've done?
In this case, it really came down to technology was the use of drones in Central Park, and really comes down to the video canvas that we did. We used every source of video that we could collect, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours from hundreds of sources, and that helped bring this to where we are right now.
The gun is it believed to be the gun he used in the shooting? And there was some talk that it was a veterinarian type gun. Is that accurate?
No, as of right now, the information we're getting from Altoona is that the gun appears to be a ghost gun. May have been made on a 3D printer. The capability of firing a 9mm round, obviously that will come out during our ballistics testing.
Oliver?
Yeah, Oliver Barnes from the Financial Times. Do you have any indication like how long this handwritten, is it a handwritten manifesto that you found on the suspect? And then also whether or not he put it online at all?
Don't know if it's online. As of right now, it's a handwritten 3-page document.
Chief, does he have ties to that area, and was he someone who you knew by name before his arrest?
We believe he may have attended college in Pennsylvania, but like I said earlier, he has ties to Maryland and California and Hawaii.
You knew him by name before today. Was his name on your radar?
Excuse me?
Was his name on your radar? Was he someone who you had been looking into before his arrest?
No, we did not have his name prior to today.
Brent, okay. Does he have any prior arrests? I know there were none for New York City, but is there any prior arrests anywhere else in the country?
We have not come across any arrests in the country.
Chief, hi, how are you? On two things. On the ghost gun, is it something you're going to be looking into to see if he made it himself and can he make that himself, or would he have to buy the gun the way it was?
No, once again, that'll be part of our investigation as we follow up.
I mean, obviously he's going to face murder charges, but is there any chance that he could face any other charges because he was targeting the CEO and because of his writings and other things that we're now finding on him? Federal charges or
that determination will be made by Alvin Bragg.
Yes, what connections does he have in Pennsylvania that you know of, and are they in Altoona specifically?
We believe he attended college in Pennsylvania.
Does he know anybody in Pennsylvania?
Pennsylvania.
Wouldn't be able to tell you that.
All right, we're going to take one more question on shooting, Marla, and then we're going to go.
Is there, what, you talk about the manifesto having said things against corporations, but specifically United Healthcare, and do you believe that Mangione acted alone?
We believe at this point, our investigation is leaning toward he was acting alone. So, like I stated earlier, we're still working through the investigation. We're not stopping today. And as far as the manifesto, like I said, I don't have the complete details of that. It's in the possession of the Altoona Police Department.
We're going to shift to Octa.
Yep. Good job, Chief. Commissioner, Chief Landry. Again, great job by the New York City Police Department. Certain aspects of this investigation and the crime itself is something that we have been zeroing in on. Ghost guns. We have really talked about this since the beginning of the administration. They could be made on a 3D printer, and they are extremely dangerous, and we must do more on the federal level to clamp down on the availability of ghost guns. And it just really leads into just the top headers of what we did last week and what we're doing this week. This week is all about public safety. Public safety, I've stated over and over again, is a prerequisite to our prosperity, and we're going to continue to make this city a safe city. It's the safest big city in America, but anytime you have a crime of this magnitude, it shocks us, and it really has a major impact on the perception of crime in this city. This crime has continued to go down. We're going to continue to do what's needed. Today we announced an Every Block Count initiative, and the blocks that we identified since October, they have not had one shooting or one shots fired job that came over. We're going to add that on to our community link operation that has resulted in over 1,000 operations in over 7.
Thank you for tuning in to the live show. You know what time it is. It is your boy Genesis. Double tap your screen, subscribe to the channel. Okay, look, this has happened, and they got the guy. They got the guy. Everything looks like it's gonna be coming to an end soon, but they're not showing us what the guy looks like in real life. Not the pictures and the mugshot they got, but we're gonna let the officials do their job, I guess. We're gonna let them do their job, but you know, the people are want to gonna see his face soon, but they're still he's still going through questioning and all that stuff. So, yeah. All right. I'm still making lunch for my baby. All right, let me see what else we got. Let's do this one.
Senator Amy Klobuchar does not support the idea. She's a Democrat. She does not support the idea of preemptive pardons.
I am not a fan of these. I didn't like the pardon of the president's son. I didn't think that that was prudent, but I also am very concerned about this idea of the preemptive pardons. I am, of everyone, very concerned about what Trump is going to do with this Justice Department. So this is, you know, the president has this power. I would prefer that we actually Trump abuse this pardon power. I think that we should have pardon reform. It is a right of these presidents.
All right, the powerful chair of the House Oversight Committee, James Comer, joins me now. Congressman, what do you make of preemptive pardons for people who may be Trump's future targets?
Well, preemptive pardons are corrupt by nature. It doesn't matter who the president is. But you look at Klobuchar and the other Democrats who are finally coming out of the woodwork criticizing Joe Biden and his family's influence peddling schemes and criticizing the pardons. Where have they been for the last year and a half? That's my question to them. Now, of course, they're concerned with Trump. But you look at Trump, he ran his campaign in a transparent manner by saying he felt like not only he, but many of his supporters were unduly harmed by a weaponized Department of Justice. So I think that what Trump is talking about doing with respect to pardons, he's been very transparent with the American people about it. I don't think the American people are going to be surprised. Whereas Joe Biden told the American people he would not pardon his son, and we all knew that he would pardon his son.
Do you think he's going to pardon members of his own family? You've been investigating the family for a long time. You think he's going to do it?
Absolutely, he's going to do it. Look, that family took tens of millions of dollars from our adversaries around the world and never paid a penny of taxes on it. They violated the Foreign Agent Registration Act. According to 6 different banks, they were money laundering. The list goes on and on of their financial crimes. The only reason Joe Biden pardoned Hunter a little early is because Hunter was fixing to be sentenced to prison this week. Now, Jim Biden, he can wait a little longer. Other members of his family, if you had a more broad Department of Justice that could get information from the government, all the information that I got in my investigation, Stuart, came from private banks and private individuals. Anything I needed from the Biden administration, they absolutely prevented me from having any information that we should have gotten, even with subpoena. So I believe that Joe Biden's going to pardon at least one more, if not multiple members of his family.
I want to get back to Doge, Department of Government Efficiency. You met with Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy on Capitol Hill. What do you think they can realistically get done in Trump's first 100 days?
Well, I think that there are lots of areas of waste, fraud, and abuse where there will be support among Republicans to cut. I would love to see $2 trillion cut out of the federal budget. I think that's very aggressive, but I'm all for it. There's not a number that scares me, Stuart. But there are a few members that they've been in Congress decades and they've never voted for a single cut of anything to my knowledge. And it was funny, you had the progressives on there. They've never, cut isn't even in their vocabulary. So, but I'm confident that they can focus on rules and regulations that are costing taxpayers hundreds of millions of dollars a year. And I'm very optimistic that Doge is going to be successful. A lot of people are criticizing Doge. Well, I'm glad there's somebody in an administration that's willing to step up to the plate and actually make tough decisions. I'm going to work with them, and I know my House Oversight Committee is going to work very closely with them, and hopefully we'll be able to see significant savings in taxpayer funds that are wasted up here every day.
Congressman James Comer, thank you very much.
Thank you for tuning in to the live show. You know what time it is. It is your boy, Genesis. Everybody double tap your screen. All right? Everybody watching right now, double tap your screen. You should see something like this come up on your screen, which is a thumbs up, which will automatically give this video that you're streaming a like. Okay, so everybody double tap your screen. And for some reason, my mic is sharper. I like it because I changed my camera. Well, I'm streaming both ways, vertical and horizontal. And I also bought some stuff. So it's like, maybe that's why it's helping the mic. I don't know. But everybody double tap your screen and let's get the likes up. With that being said, we're going to end it on this note. The Vice President of the United States, Vice President Harris, gave a speech at the Tribal Nations Summit at the Department of the Interior. Are you ready to have a good time? Kamala, ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Kamala Harris.
Everyone, good afternoon. Good afternoon. Can we please applaud Sophia? This is why we know the future is bright, right? Please have a seat. Please have a seat. Well, I want to thank everyone for your leadership, for your long-standing friendship, and for the work we have yet to do together. Let me say it is so good to be with Secretary Deb Haaland, who has been an incredible leader, as we know, and such a powerful fighter, and a dear friend and colleague to me. So I thank you, Deb, for all that you do. And to all the leaders who are here today, including all the leaders from California who I've worked with over the years on so many important issues, from protecting the rights of Native children to fighting for the safety of Indigenous women to conserving Native land. And I believe, of course, that the bonds between our nations are sacred. They are sacred. And that the federal government has a duty to safeguard and strengthen those bonds. A duty to honor tribal sovereignty, to ensure tribal self-determination, and to uphold our trust and treaty obligations. And I will always fight to build a future of opportunity and dignity for all Native people and all Native communities. As Vice President, I have had the honor to meet and work with thousands of Native leaders, from young leaders at our extraordinary tribal colleges and universities, to advocates fighting to protect Native votes and voting rights, to union workers in Arizona and Native small business owners from across the country. And here's what I know to be true. Native communities are home to some of the most innovative, skilled, and determined people in America. And as we all know well, there is an extraordinary amount of ambition, aspiration, and ability across Indian country. However, what is often lacking is the opportunity to pursue that ambition, aspiration, and ability. For far too long, the federal government has underinvested in Native communities, underinvested in Native entrepreneurs and small businesses, and underinvested in Native hospitals, schools, and infrastructure, which is why, over the past 4 years, we have made it a central priority, and it will remain a central priority, to address these historic inequities and to create opportunity in every Native community. Take, for example, our work with Native small business owners. We know that one of the biggest hurdles to Native entrepreneurs is having access to capital. It's one of the biggest challenges. It's not for lack of a good idea, for serious work ethic, for a plan that actually would benefit the community and meet a demand, but it's access to capital. On tribal land and in many rural areas, the nearest bank is sometimes more than 100 miles away, making it more difficult for folks to get the resources and support that they need to start and grow a small business, which is why I have worked to expand access to capital since I served in the United States Senate, and as Vice President have made sure we invested over $1 billion in Native community banks, banks run by people who live in the community and understand and are in the best position then to understand the needs of the community, the capacity of the community, in a way that in particular other banks may not. And the impact of that approach is profound. As just one example, soon after taking office, I spoke with Anna LeBeau, a member of the Omaha tribe, and we had an extensive conversation. I reached out to her, and she understood that basically as an executive director of a Native community bank in South Dakota, that the entrepreneurs in the community, many of them just were not being recognized by those who could invest in their work and in their growth. We talked, for example, about entrepreneurs in the community who make traditional quilts. and the challenges that they often face in securing loans, as big banks often don't fully understand the culture and therefore don't understand the value of the product or service, don't understand the demand, don't understand the need, just don't understand the culture. But community banks do. And today, Native community banks are using the $1 billion that we have given them to support Native entrepreneurs, to create jobs, and to generate economic opportunity across Indian country. In Native communities, we have also addressed inequities in health care, which we know is a long-standing issue. And we have done it with a belief, and I strongly believe, access to health care should be a right and not just a privilege of those who can afford it. That this is a matter and that this is a matter simply about dignity, about allowing people to have a quality of life to which they are entitled, and in particular, to live without needlessly suffering. Nearly 3 million people rely on the Indian Health Service for medical care. In some communities, IHS hospitals and clinics are the only place that folks receive medical care. But before we took office, if Congress failed to pass a spending bill and the federal government then shut down, the IHS would stop receiving funding immediately. Many of you here know that. And when I was in the Senate, you called me to make sure I was clear about that. And hospitals, because what we know, hospitals and clinics across Indian country would then have to close their doors. I worked on this issue then, thanks to a lot of the leaders here, when I was a United States Senator. And I know the profound harm that these closures cause. In 2018, the federal government, many here remember that, the federal government shut down for more than a month. And I still remember the stories. A mother of 2 who was forced to wait for days for treatment for bronchitis, all the time terrified that one of her lungs would collapse. A 68-year-old grandmother who was forced to delay eye surgery despite daily pain. And a young man who was engaged to be married, who lost his life because the opioid treatment center he relied on in his community was shut down. These are just some of the stories, and they are heartbreaking. So when I was elected vice president, I was determined to finally deal with this issue and this injustice, and I am proud to report that for the first time ever, we made it so that IHS will now continue to receive funding even if the federal government shuts down. Which, of course, means that no matter what happens, people will continue to get the care that they need and deserve. It's just a matter of dignity and what is right. And to improve health care across Indian country, we have also taken on the issue, and again, there's so many leaders here who have been doing this work, to take on the issue of maternal health. Women in America die at a higher rate in connection with childbirth than women in any other so-called wealthy country in the world. And the latest numbers tell us it was twice as likely. The current numbers are that Native women are 3 times more likely than others to die in connection with childbirth. 3 years ago, this very month, as vice president, I challenged every state in our country to address this crisis. And in particular, I challenged them to extend postpartum coverage under Medicaid from a measly, what they were doing, 2 months to 1 year. I am proud to report that whereas when I issued the challenge, and I was pretty shameless about it, I really challenged them, right? Like I was in their face about it. When I first did it, only 3 states had Medicaid coverage postpartum beyond 2 months. As of today, 46 states offer a full year of postpartum coverage, right? And there are so many leaders in this room that are behind that work, and I thank you. So, and by the way, those stats tell us that it includes, of those 46 states, every one of the 10 states with the largest Native populations. And so, of course, the leaders here know what this means. It means that now there are thousands more Native women who have access to a full year of care, from vaccinations to checkups to postpartum depression screenings. It makes a difference. And all of this to know what we, again, must always do: fight for the dignity of all people. To create a future of opportunity and dignity, we must also make sure every person has the freedom to drink clean water and breathe clean air. Tribal nations and people have served as responsible stewards of our environment and natural resources for millennia. The original leaders. And over the past 4 years, we have then made it a priority to make sure you have the resources to continue your important work of leadership. As just one example, last year I visited the Gila River Indian community in Arizona. And I was, by the way, the first, well, there was never a president to do it. I'm the first vice president to ever do it in history. And at Gila River, Governor Stephen Lewis, is he here? I thought that was you. Hi. Governor, it's good to see you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. It's good to see you. And we had such a wonderful visit, and the governor and I toured the site of a new clean water pipeline. And for those who haven't seen it, it's really a sight to see. It's really a sight to see. The project was proposed by Native leaders and created jobs for Native workers, and the project will reduce the impact of drought and provide a new source of water that Native farmers can now use to irrigate their fields. The Gila River Project is just one of the thousands that will be supported and backed up by our investment of nearly $2 billion in Native-led climate projects to help clean up pollution and build reliable, clean energy and adapt to extreme weather, all of which will help protect Native communities for this generation and for 7 generations to come. So I will end with this. A few minutes ago, I had the privilege to meet with a group of extraordinary young Native leaders. Where are you guys? I know you came in here. Stand up, please. Just, you have to stand up. Come on. And we had such a wonderful visit. I could have just hung out with you guys all afternoon, to be honest. I'm telling you, our future is so bright. And I said to these leaders a few things. I mean, you know, this is just, I guess, for all of us culturally, we lecture. I lectured them. I told them what to do. I gave them advice they didn't ask for. And one of the things I said to them is that your leadership and your voice is so important, and we are so proud of you. And I said to them something everyone here knows. You know, you may many times, you will many times, be the only one that looks like you in a room. Be it a boardroom, a lecture hall, a meeting room, a congressional hearing. You may be the only one that looks like you in that room. But you always remember you are not in that room alone, that we are all in that room with you, and that when you walk in that room, we expect and demand that you will walk in that room chin up, shoulders back, carrying the voices of all of us who are so proud that you are there and are counting on you to lead. And I see in our young leaders such incredible potential. I see purpose. I see determination. I see ambition, which I applaud and must always be applauded. And here's one of the things I love most about our young leaders. They are rightly impatient.
Here we go.
They are not waiting for someone else to lead. They are prepared to lead. And so I say, in the midst of challenges, in the midst of what might sometimes be a profound sense of uncertainty, let us always continue to have faith in our young leaders, in their future, and in our collective future. And I thank you all the leaders here, for all you have done and all you will do. And let us continue to fight for the opportunity and the dignity of all people. May God bless you, and may God bless the United States of America.
All right, you've heard from the Vice President of the United States, Vice President Kamala Harris. She says, always have faith in the future and in our collective future. You know what time it is? She said it. Don't think you just fell off a coconut tree. That's all I'm going to tell y'all. Y'all don't think you just fell off a coconut tree, okay? With that being said, instead of looking for perfection, seek for consistency. Never give up on yourself. Never give up on your dreams. Never give up on God. Believe in yourself. Believe in your dreams. Believe in God. It's your boy Genesis. Everybody right now, I just want to tell y'all, God is with you. No matter what you're going through, God got you. And if you're doing great, awesome. If you're praying that you do great and this whole thing just makes sense to you, God bless you. And if you're going through hard times, God is with you. Okay, keep going, never stop, keep believing in yourself. Life is hard. However, you are stronger and you can take it. Okay, you can take it. I promise you that. You've taken everything that has come your way all these years. Okay, so take it. The pain will not kill you. Okay, that's all I'm gonna tell y'all. The pain will not kill you. It's gonna make you a better person. Keep going. Keep going. Stay strong. Stay focused. Stay disciplined. And I'm praying for you, man. I'm praying for you. Shout out to the brothers. Shout out to the sisters. God bless you, Steve. Average Joe for sure. That's the moderator for the show. Shout out to Average Joe. OG Drew. OG Dew. Billy. Man, everybody, man. God bless y'all. God bless y'all. Shout out to Ellie. Thank you guys so much, man. You guys are the best. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. It is your boy Genesis, and I am signing out. Let's get it. Thank you to the veterans as well.